I gotta go down my own road. What road? I mean, I'm working on my first million and you're still working on 8 seconds. Good evening, everyone. This is Stone Gasman live from New York City. And tonight we are going to be doing another sports double feature from 1972. 2 weeks ago, we did, if I remember correctly, we did roller derby with Kansas City Bomber and I forget the other one at this point. And last weekend we did Fat City along with King Boxer. Well, tonight we're going to the rodeo. I don't know why we ended up with sports double features from 1972 all throughout this month, but that's what we're doing for every Saturday night. Except for next Saturday night because I'll be doing Superfly and Shaft's Big Score. But tonight we are going to be doing Junior Bonner, directed by Sam Peckinpah and starring Steve McQueen. And after that, we will be doing a bonus commentary for The Honkers, starring James Coburn. And that's probably going to start about 10 minutes to 11 Eastern time. I'm going to take a 10-minute break, and I'll be back on board here for the Honkers commentary. But first, we're going to do Junior Bonner. Now, it is available on YouTube for all those who don't want to waste any money. There it is, available for free on YouTube. Now, it's one of those things where, like, it has the entire movie, and then it has the entire first half of the movie afterward again. I don't know why sometimes these things get uploaded like this, but the movie is in full in there. It's 100 minutes. And we're going to sit back, enjoy ourselves. And this is going to be, I don't want to say more scene specific, but at the same time, what I realized going back to these rodeo pictures of 1972, and believe me, there were several. There were several of these rodeo movies that I honestly never want to go to the rodeo ever in my life, and that's not to say I'm not trying to dump on the sport or anything. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm surprised that rodeo was such a huge thing in '72. I don't know if roller derby or rodeo is bigger. I honestly don't know. Although I guess rodeo wins because they got more movies, as we will soon discover and talk about here. So. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. So, at any rate, so we're going to do Junior Bonner. We are paused at the MGM logo for Junior Bonner. Give everyone 3 seconds and we'll press play. 3, 2, 1, and play. Yep. Okay, got the volume down. So here we go. This is Steve McQueen. Prior to watching Junior Bonner, I have seen a number of Steve McQueen movies, although I got to admit I've not accessed his entire resume as of now. Joe Wiseman, Booth Gardner production in association with Solar Pictures. Yeah. So yeah, this was like the third or fourth rodeo movie that year. I mean, we had J.W. Coop with Cliff Robertson, who had just won the Academy Award in 1968 for Charlie, and he wrote and produced and directed it as like a labor of love. And then we had the Honkers in May, which came out approximately 5 days after the director died at the age of 37. So we'll talk more about him when we get to that commentary. But you know, Junior Bonner, co-starring Robert Preston, the great Robert Preston, got some really great actors in this movie. I mean, it's kind of a distinguished ensemble, much like Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch. Ida Lupino is one of my favorite things about this movie, and I'm excited to talk about her. But this came out at a very quiet period in the careers of both Peckinpah and McQueen, because Peckinpah had just done The Wild Bunch, very controversial, but nonetheless beautiful Western, one of the best in the genre I've ever seen personally. And he had just finished shooting Straw Dogs in England with Dustin Hoffman, which is notable for its graphic depictions of rape and violence and everything. It's a revenge story. Considered a classic in some circles. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do understand why other people appreciate it, though. But I think that Sam Peckinpah really wanted to make a movie that just kind of toned down, the violence and the gore and the language and everything. He wanted to make a family movie, and this is basically a rodeo movie, but it's a family movie in disguise, where Steve McQueen goes back to his hometown of Prescott, Arizona, and for the rodeo competition, of course. But he's only there temporarily. I mean, he's a drifter, essentially. He just, just goes wherever the rodeo is, essentially. And when he goes home to Prescott, Arizona, he must reconcile with his family, who he's been estranged from. So basically, this is Sam Peckinpah making a Lifetime movie set set in the backdrop of the rodeo. And I got to admit, I like this movie. It's not exactly like rodeo itself. This is not a movie that I would go back to on a regular basis. But all the rodeo movies that came out in '72, this is definitely one of the better ones. Although I did like J.W. Coop, and I was going to do a commentary on J.W. Coop in January, but at the last minute, I decided not to do it. And I don't know, I can't explain why at this time, why I decided to do that. Because I like Cliff Robertson, and I wanted to give the movie some definite attention. But I don't know, there was something about it I was just not into it. At least, the night that I had planned to do it, I just wasn't feeling it, essentially. So I decided to let it go. But let it go like the bull itself, But look, I grew up in the stupid suburbs of Northern Virginia, close to DC. I was nowhere near any kind of, rodeo competitions or anything like that. So look, I didn't grow up in a part of the country that could appreciate the sport as a sport. Honestly, I think I would be, just bored and hot and sweaty and just be like, okay, I mean, how many guys do we have to watch be thrown off a horse or a bull? I mean, look, I'm sorry, to anybody who loves bull riding and the rodeo, look, bless your hearts, but, this is not my thing. It's just probably the only thing that would make it better would be alcohol. I don't know if they serve alcohol at these rodeo events. Well, they got children there, so probably not. But it's just not a thing I would ever go to. Although I have said in the past that, if somebody was going to offer me a ticket to the Daytona 500, I would probably say yes, just because I've never experienced it before. As like, well, yeah, you've never experienced the rodeo? Come on. No, I've seen enough of the rodeo on screen to let me know that I would not be enjoying myself if I went to any kind of rodeo event. But written by Jeb Rosenbrook. Yeah. That was almost a nice little way of presenting the writer there, wasn't it? Letting the screen go up like that. That was pretty cool. But McQueen plays a very, very quiet, very low key. He was known as the king of cool. And as somebody who never experienced any of his films in their heyday, admittedly there is a disconnect to that title when you think, okay, oh, this guy was the king of cool. You watch a movie like Junior Bonner and you don't necessarily see it, but then you watch a movie like Bullet or The Sand Pebbles, and you definitely do see it. He was also in, of course, the classic The Magnificent Seven from 1960, which is one of the great classics. Great ensemble in that movie too. Although Steve McQueen definitely stood out. And directed by Sam Peckinpah. It's amazing, of all the films that Sam Peckinpah directed, the one that I've still seen the most that he's associated with, and he did not direct it, was the 1956 film Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He has a very small, very tiny role in that as a gas meter reader down in the basement when Kevin McCarthy wondering who goes there in the basement, and it's really just Sam Peckinpah, the meter reader. I have seen that movie more times, I think, than any other movie that Sam Peckinpah has been associated with. There are rumors that say that he worked on the script for that. I don't necessarily buy that. I think he just got a lot of experience at such a young age. I mean, that was really just a movie where Peckinpah just gained experience, and he probably really admired and watched Don Siegel when he was directing that behind the camera, because I think that's the great one, seriously the greatest science fiction film of the 1950s, and on top of that, the scariest. Yeah, I would put it over Day the Earth Stood Still, and that is a very tough competition. That is very, very tough competition. But I mean, Sam Peckinpah's masterpiece, probably The Wild Bunch. I saw that for the first time only in the past 5 years. Fell in love with it, and I hated myself for waiting so long to finally see The Wild Bunch. Yeah. But there's a number of familiar faces in Junior Bonner, which also make it a nice little ride. I mean, here again, watching this movie, I said to myself, you know what? Some of these scenes are stretched out a bit too much. I mean, I think that Peckinpah just wants to absorb the surroundings, like with scenes like this, and I get what he's doing. He wants us to absorb this guy's life and where he grew up and everything. And eventually, when he must meet his father and mother and brother and basically everybody, while at the same time just doing what he does, which is basically just basically drifting from rodeo to rodeo. And in recent years, Junior Bonner has gotten a lot more attention. I mean, it got very little publicity when it was released in 1972. I'm not sure if that was due to the fact that there were so many rodeo films that year, but uh, this was kind of an end of an era for Sam Peckinpah and Steve McQueen. Now, Steve McQueen, excuse me, Sam Peckinpah, excuse me. Sam Peckinpah, of course, in the 1960s had directed three movies: The Deadly Companions, Ride the High Country, and Major Dundee. And then, of course, The Wild Bunch made him, internationally renowned. And then in 1970, he directed a movie called The Ballad of Cable Hogue with Jason Robards and Stella Stevens and the late David Warner, who just passed away. After that, he did Straw Dogs. And Junior Bonner, even though it was a rare misfire at the box office for both the director and the star, Steve McQueen, It only made 2.8 million on a 3.2 million dollar budget, so it just missed out on breaking even. Sad to say. But right after this, they would team up yet again for The Getaway, which released in December of 1972, was a hit, and it probably made up for the sting that they both felt from Junior Bonner just being virtually ignored. But that's the thing. I mean, you got to understand, in 1972, can you really sell Steve McQueen at the rodeo? I mean, okay, this guy was known as the king of cool, right? And he didn't have a lot of box office failures up until actually after 1974, when he became one of the highest paid stars in Hollywood. Because after The Getaway, after the massive success of The Getaway, because that made $36 million on a $3 million budget. Here again, massive hit in 1972. Written by Walter Hill, by the way. Sam Peckinpah then made Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid and Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. And both of them were minor successes. Well, actually, in the case of the second one, it didn't make anything. But those are films I have not seen, to be perfectly honest. Then he did the Killer Elite with James Caan and Robert Duvall. We just lost James Caan recently. Cross of okay. And then Cross of Iron in 1977, which was a German war movie with James Coburn, who will be the star of our second rodeo movie tonight. Convoy in 1978. And then finally, his last film was The Osterman Weekend. So Sam Peckinpah made 14 movies, and I don't know how Junior Bonner ranks among film historians who have seen all of Peckinpah's films. I probably would put this on the more positive side, although it's a very, this is a very middle of the road type of drama. The material is very, very thin. And here again, I mean, it's all about who you want to see ride a horse or a bull, which is essentially what Roger Ebert said in his review of this movie, which I could quote later. But look, I mean, you have all these rodeo movies with huge stars. And that's the thing. I mean, do you decide between Cliff Robertson or Steve McQueen or James Coburn? There was two other rodeo movies, and I need to double check real quick what they are. When the Legends Die, and credit going to Richard Winters. There was also another film called Riding Tall, aka Squares, that was written by actor John Saxon's wife, Mary Ann. That is available on YouTube as well. And that one stars Andrew Prine. Now, I know who Andrew Prine is. He was a character actor who was in a lot of films like The Miracle Worker and Grizzly and everything. So yeah, 1972 apparently had at least 5 rodeo movies. Now, I decided to go with the Honkers after Junior Bonner, because I wanted to do Junior Bonner because, look, it's Peckinpah and McQueen. I got to do it. But I was torn on what to choose for my second rodeo movie after Junior Bonner. And I thought about doing J.W. Coop, but here again, part of me didn't want to go back to that movie, even though I kind of liked it. I decided to go with the Honkers only because of the fact that the director lost his life at the age of 37, and this was essentially the only movie that he did. So I decided to go with the Honkers this time. But yeah, see, Riding Tall. I'm not even sure if it's on. Or actually, just look it up under squares. It's got to be on Wikipedia. Oh, here we go. Yeah. It's a movie that exists. Oh, 7.4 out of 10. Now, that's actually a really high score. Yeah, written by Marianne Saxon, starring Andrew Prine, Robert Easton, Gilmer McCormick, William Wintersole. The body-wrenching sport of professional rodeo bronc busting is brought to life in this tale of modern-day Western action. Andrew Prine stars as a down-on-his-luck rodeo rider, another one, who meets a rich preppy type girl, another one. In the midst of a wild and turbulent journey through the Southwest rodeo circuit, they fall in love. Another one. See, that's the thing. All these movies are pretty much kind of the same in terms of story and characters. like they depended upon this one template for all of these rodeo films. Will they stay together or will their past lives tear them apart? Oh, the drama. Oh, the drama. Now there's Steve McQueen. Yeah, I'm going to be making that confusion a number of times. But okay, here's Steve McQueen shaking the hand of this guy in the white shirt and the black sunglasses. He's actually given special credit in this movie at the very end. That's William Pierce, and he was a local businessman in Prescott, Arizona, who helped out the production a lot with his connections. And it basically just, and he got a massive thank you card at the end of the movie because of his contributions. Yeah, he was kind of their Prescott, Arizona expert and tour guide, I guess you could say. But I mean, because of his connections, they essentially were able to make this movie as smoothly as possible. So they gave him a small part in the movie, which I think he absolutely deserved. I mean, Sam Peckham. I mean, excuse me. There I go again. Steve McQueen just buys tickets from him. Okay. Now, I honestly made a concentrated effort to actually read up about rodeo and everything that goes into the sport and everything that I always kind of knew that basically most people know that basically they have to be on a bull for 8 seconds. That's basically, it used to be 10 seconds, now it's 8 seconds. Bull riding has always had its fair share of controversies with the animal rights groups, which I'm not really going to go into because you can understand why. Although in the 1950s, they actually kind of joined forces to mitigate whatever concerns that they had with the animals, the horses and the bulls, when they're being red. I mean, so now they're being cared for and taken care of as much as possible. Of course, the ASPCA didn't really monitor movies until the 1980s. In fact, the movie that kind of kicked that off was Heaven's Gate, because apparently Michael Cimino was accused of, quote unquote, killing 4 horses during the battle scenes. Now, considering that movie came out the same year as Cannibal Holocaust, I don't think it deserves an ounce of attention in that department. I really don't think it. I don't think it does. And here we have Dub Taylor, the legendary Dub Taylor. Oh my God! See, that's what I'm saying. What I liked about Junior Bonner was to seeing all of these classic actors and their familiar faces. I mean, people have called this Sam Peckinpah's warmest movie. And I can kind of understand that because there's a lot of nostalgia generated by seeing some of the actors in these films. And see, Dub Taylor was, in many, many westerns of the 40s and 50s. I mean, those who remember him very, very fondly. Although I remember him just from his Robert Zemeckis roles. If you remember, he was in Back to the Future Part 3. He was one of the old guys in the saloon. He was also in Used Cars, one of my favorites, starring Kurt Russell. But I mean, he had done a lot of films up until this point. I mean, The Liberation of L.B. Jones. He was in The Wild Bunch as well. The Wild Country, Evel Knievel, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, The Fortune, Creature from Black Lake, The Rescuers. He gave a voice of Digger in The Rescuers. Oh, yeah, and he was also in 1941 and Cannonball Run 2. But like I said, I know him mainly from his work with Robert Zemeckis. Now, here on screen, we have Ben Johnson. He had just won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for The Last Picture Show, directed by Peter Bogdanovich. Yeah, he not only won the Academy Award, he also won the BAFTA and the Golden Globe for The Last Picture Show. He was in a number of Western as well. He worked as a stuntman for John Ford, of all people, and he was hired for his stunt work for the 1948 film Fort Apache, and as the riding double for Henry Fonda. During shooting, the horses pulling a wagon with 3 men in it stampeded. Johnson, who, quote, happened to be setting on the horse, stopped the runaway wagon and saved the men. When Ford promised that he would be rewarded, Johnson hoped it would be another doubling job or maybe a small speaking role. Instead, he received a 7-year acting contract from Ford. Ford called Johnson into his office and handed him an envelope with a contract in it. Johnson started reading it, and when he got to the 5th line and it said $5,000 a week, he stopped reading, grabbed a pen, and signed it and gave it back to Ford. Wow. And his first credited role was in Three Godfathers, who that was a John Wayne movie, but you know how I know about Three Godfathers' existence? The animated movie, The Ice Age, is actually a remake of Three Godfathers. Yeah, it's the same story of three guys in Ice Age, 3 animals looking over a baby. He later said the film was the most challenging of his career. Ford then suggested a starring role for him in the 1949 film Mighty Joe Young, the King Kong knockoff. Played Greg opposite Terry Moore. Ford cast him in the remaining 2 of the 3 films that have come to be known as Ford's Cavalry trilogy, all starring John Wayne. She Wore a Yellow Ribbon and Rio Grande. Johnson was drawn to the rodeos and horse breeding of his early years. In 1953, he took a break from well-paid film work to compete in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, becoming the team roping world champion. Although he only broke even financially that year, Johnson was inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in 1973, 1 year after Junior Bonner. According to his Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame entry, he said, quote, "I've won a rodeo world championship, and I'm prouder of that than anything else I've ever done." So, yeah. Ben Johnson, he worked up until the 90s. His last film was actually the sequel to Terms of Endearment called The Evening Star, which I can safely say is probably the worst film in his entire resume, which also includes Red Dawn, Terror Train, The Swarm, Bloodsport, The Sugarland Express. He was also in The Getaway, which we'll be getting to in December. And he was also in One-Eyed Jacks, which was Marlon Brando's only film as a director. Yep. Now, here we have the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Ida Lupino as Steve McQueen's mom in this movie. Now, Ida Lupino had started out as an actress in the 1930s and 40s. She said at one time that she was sort of the poor woman's Betty Davis, because she always did the movies that Betty Davis passed on. But she also made a name for herself in motion picture history as being one of the only women directors in the late 40s and 1950s. Now, you got to understand, and I know this is an odd subject to bring up during these two rodeo movies, but it should be noted that in the 1910s, the highest paid director in Hollywood was a woman. The highest paid screenwriter in Hollywood was a woman. Women had a lot of power in Hollywood in the teens and early 20s. But ironically, the great irony is after women got the right to vote, they lost practically all their cinematic voices. Lois Weber, who was the highest paid director that I mentioned, she retired in the early 30s. Alice Guy Blaché, who was the first woman to make a narrative film in 1896. Her career was over by 1920. And in the sound era, we only had two women directors. We had Dorothy Arzner, who had directed a number of films from 1927 to 1943. Her most famous probably being Dance Girl Dance with Lucille Ball and Maureen O'Hara. And after Dorothy Arzner retired, really the only women director we had was Ida Lupino. She and her husband had started their own studio together, as a matter of fact. And it should be noted that a lot of these women were, of course, married to businessmen who would, of course, negotiate with all the male financiers a lot of times before these movies were made. But the whole reason she started her own studio is because she got tired of being forced to accept roles by the studios. Because remember that actors had very rigid contracts at that time. And so she started the Filmmakers Incorporated. Her husband, producer and writer Collier Young, formed the independent company to issue low-budget, issue-oriented movies. And it was formed in 1948. They produced 12 feature films, some of them including Outrage, which was one of the first movies to deal with rape. The Hitchhiker, which was the only film noir from the period directed by a woman. And The Bigamist, from 1953. Some of these are also listed in 1,000 Movies You Should See Before You Die. So these are actually, very important films. Never Fear, 1949, a film about polio, which Ida Lupino personally experienced at the age of 16. That was her first director credit. And of course, she also made Outrage and The Hitchhiker, Hard, Fast, and Beautiful, The Bigamist. And then in 1966, she directed her very last movie with Haley Mills, which the name escapes me at the moment. Trouble with Angels. Trouble with Angels. That was the name of it. So, yeah, and she passed away at the age of 77 in 1995. So yeah, this was after she basically after she had directed all those films. She also did a lot for television, like Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Thriller, Twilight Zone, Honey West, Donna Reed, Gilligan's Island of all things, The Virginian, The Untouchables, The Fugitive, and Bewitched. Yep. Director Martin Scorsese noted that, quote, as a star, Lupino had no taste for glamour, and the same was true as a director. The stories she told in Outrage, Never Fear, Hard, Fast, and Beautiful, The Bigamist, and The Hitchhiker were intimate, always set within a precise social milieu. She wanted to, quote, do pictures with poor, bewildered people because that's what we are. Her heroines were young women whose middle class security were shattered by trauma, unwanted pregnancy, polio, rape, bigamy, parental abuse. There's a sense of pain, panic, and cruelty that covers every frame. Lupino's films are critical of many traditional social institutions, which reflect her contempt for the patriarchal structure that existed in Hollywood. Lupino rejected the commodification of female stars. As an actress, she resisted becoming an object of desire. She said in 1949, quote, Hollywood careers are perishable commodities, and sought to avoid such a fate for herself. Yeah. So very, very important figure in the industry. And I believe one of these kids is Sam Peckinpah's own son, if I'm not mistaken. Sam Peckinpah had 5 children, by the way. And the actress, well, okay, there's Joe Don Baker, who we'll talk about a bit later. A lot of people will recognize him from other movies, and he plays Steve McQueen's brother here. But the actress sitting at the table there, that is an actress by the name of oh, no, 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 not her. Not her. No, 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 no. Mary Murphy. Yeah, this is Mary Murphy, and she was a television film actress in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. She was in When Worlds Collide, had a very uncredited role in that. The Atomic City, Beachhead, The Wild One with Marlon Brando, Intimate Stranger, The Maverick Queen, and Junior Bonner was one of her last films. In fact, her very last film was the 1974 controversial TV movie Born Innocent, starring Linda Blair, where she escapes from this abusive family and then ends up in the juvenile justice system, where basically she's raped by a plunger. Essentially, these girls rape her with a plunger, and that was very, very taboo for television audiences at the time. Well, that was her last movie. She played Miss Murphy in that. She played basically Linda Blair's ally in Born Innocent when she was dealing with the horrible nature of being in the juvenile justice system. But Joe Don Baker here, a lot of people will know him from the Walking Tall films of the 1970s. Wow, Joe Don Baker is still with us. He is still with us. He is 86 years old. I think he's one of the few people from this movie that is still with us, in fact. Yep. Yep. He established himself as an action star with supporting roles as a mysterious cowboy drifter in the Guns of Magnificent Seven. So yeah, Steve McQueen was in the Magnificent Seven, and Joe Don Baker was in Guns of the Magnificent Seven. Oh, they probably had a lot to talk about during the production of this movie. they probably had a lot of late night conversations. And he was a deputy sheriff in the Western Wild Rovers, 1971, before receiving fame for his roles as a mafia hitman in Charlie Varick, 1973, real-life Tennessee Sheriff Buford Passer in the action film Walking Tall, a brute force detective in Mitchell, Deputy Sheriff Thomas Jefferson Geronimo III in Final Justice, 1985, and Police Chief Jerry Carlin in the action comedy Fletch, starring Chevy Chase. He is also known for his appearances as both villain and ally in 3 James Bond movies. Brad Whitaker in The Living Daylights, one of my personal favorite Bond films, and as CIA agent Jack Wade in the Pierce Brosnan films GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies. Boom! Right through the window. Oh, man. I think old Junior needs to go to anger management here. You don't have to say anything. I'm out. I'm done. Oh, man. These poor brothers, they just can't get along, can they? And here we got Robert Preston. Yeah. So yeah, Joe Don Baker is still with us. That's pretty amazing. See, his last movie was actually Mud. I own Mud on Blu-ray. That is a masterpiece. Oh my God, yeah, Mud with Matthew McConaughey and Michael Shannon and Sarah Paulson and Reese Witherspoon. Oh, check out Mud. Mud is amazing, and you know what? If that's going to be the last film that he ever does, that's a hell of a way to go out. Oh, that is magnificent right there. Other films that you probably recognize him from are Mars Attacks, Congo, The Grass Harp, Reality Bites. I'm not going to say that title. And the Valachi Papers. Oh, and he also had an uncredited role in Cool Hand Luke. That was actually his first film. He played a fixer in Cool Hand Luke in 1967, although he was uncredited. Yeah. So anybody that's in the chat tonight, Dan Shine and Holiday Styles, like to welcome both of you gentlemen. We are approximately 40 minutes into Junior Bonner from 1972. And here we have Steve McQueen talking to Ben Johnson. Yeah. So, yeah, as I said before, I didn't necessarily dislike any of these rodeo movies, but the problem is that they're kind of they kind of blur together. I mean, they all have very, 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 very similar elements. And I mean, in 1972, I guess there was just a spike in rodeo popularity that we had this many movies that would focus on just the rodeo. But like I said, I mean, just with these movies, it's like, would I want to be out there in the dirt, in the dusty bowls, probably thinking about water and being being somewhere with air conditioning. I mean, these are not movies that, here again, it's like going to the rodeo in real life. These are not movies I would return to because I don't want to be out there in the desert. I know that, hey, I'm just not a rodeo fan. But, here again, if you are a rodeo fan, then of course 1972 is a very important year for you. Now, I barely remember watching the 1992 movie 8 Seconds which was directed by John G. Avildsen and starring Luke Perry. That was based on a real-life rodeo guy who died at the age of 25 after he got attacked by a bull after a competition. This wasn't even when he was on the bull and he got knocked off. No, this was afterward. And see, and that's another thing about these bull riding competitions and everything. It's just like, I'm sorry, I'm not the type of guy to jump on a horse or a bull and possibly get my junk damaged. I don't know. I don't see the appeal. Hey, look, everybody has their novelties, their sports, their hobbies, everything. Everybody's got their different likes and dislikes. The rodeo is just something that I would not see myself ever doing. It's just not my thing. But here again, I wanted to give Junior Bonner and all of these films some attention, because if it was just J.W. Coop, I probably would not have watched these other movies. But like I said, I just think all of them just tend to kind of blur together because, they all have the exact same ingredients. Now, Roger Ebert, who I mentioned before, he gave the movie 2 stars, which I do think is a little bit low. I would have given it more like maybe 2.5, maybe 3. I mean, like I said, it's not so much a special movie as it is just, it's only important in terms of the director and stars' resumes. And there's a lot to like about Junior Bonner. I mean, especially when it comes to the cast. But this is a film that will never be, attributed by, accepted by the Library of Congress as one of the most important movies ever made. But anyway, this is Roger Ebert, and this is what he said about Junior Bonner on September 20th, 1972. There's this thing for rodeo movies all of a sudden. Mostly they seem to have the same plot. The veteran rodeo star making his comeback against the meanest bull on the circuit. They have the same visual feeling, too. Lots of dusty roads and pickup trucks and rodeo footage, cleverly edited to make it look like the star is really there in the arena. So our only choice as to which rodeo cowboy we want to see. There was Cliff Robertson and J.W. Coop. Then there's James Coburn and the Honkers. And now Steve McQueen and Junior Bonner. Of the 3, Junior Bonner has the most distinguished director. Sam Peckinpah, who had led previous excursions into the West in Wild Bunch, Ride the High Country, and The Ballad of Cable Hogue. The first 2 rodeo movies were directorial debuts by actors, Robertson himself and the late Steve Ihnat. The surprising thing is that Peckinpah comes off so badly in this company. I disagree with that. But the best of the rodeo films so far is cleared away J.W. Coop. He does the best of getting inside his rodeo cowboy instead of just plastering him over with all kinds of prefab plot devices. J.W. Coop was a man just out of prison who had kept it in shape with the prison rodeo and was now trying to make a modest comeback. As played by Robertson, and it's surrounded by a crowd of ordinary rodeo people, he was a person whose hungers we could understand even if we didn't give a damn about the rodeo. The Honkers was a more conventional and was padded out at excessive length by too many soft-focus lyrical interludes with dumb songs. Still, there was Lois Nettleton as Coburn's strong and yet suffering wife, and Slim Pickens in a really fine character performance as Coburn's oldest friend. Seen with these 2 earlier films in mind, Junior Bonner becomes a flat-out disappointment, despite Peckinpah's track record and his proven ability to elegize the West. It's hard at first to figure out what goes wrong. The movie is populated with good performances. The McQueen character, who's the kind of guy people just naturally call Junior, both admires his father and remains a little in his shade. Robert Preston as the father is one of the best old coots in the movies since Walter Houston. Ben Johnson, fresh from his triumph in Last Picture Show and playing a rodeo promoter, reminds us again that a lot of great character actors languished in the backgrounds of John Ford's westerns. And there is Ida Lupino, her first movie since 1966 and looking beautiful and resourceful. There are sustained stretches of great Peckinpah movie making too. He gives us a real genial tavern brawl that seems to be carried out mostly for the exercise. And then he has the long estranged Preston and Miss Lupino sneak out the back door, engage in some nostalgic and yet suspicious memories. And then finally, in one of the most tender love scenes I can remember, go upstairs to one of the rooms over the saloon to make love for the first time in years. And yet the movie simply never comes together and works as a whole. The material is terribly thin. A storyline is introduced. McQueen, aiming for the mean bull, is also present at a moment of family crisis, which has his dippy brother selling off the family land for mobile homes. But nothing much is resolved. And the movie finally loses so much tension and movement that when McQueen finally does conquer the bull, we wonder why it took him so long. So, yeah, I think but here's the interesting thing. To counteract what Roger Ebert said, Peckinpah fans, when they returned to Junior Bonner, they noticed a lot more here than maybe was originally seen in 1972. Yeah, critical reception was still fairly good, but not enthusiastic. Peckinpah would remark, I made a movie where nobody got shot, nobody went to see it. So, yeah, pretty much. New York Times' Vincent Canby wrote, Junior Bonner, which looks like a rodeo film and sounds like a rodeo film, is a superior family comedy, actually. The latter-day film genre of misunderstood rodeo drifter gets one of its best expositions in Junior Bonner, writes Arthur Murphy of Variety. Sam Peckinpah's latest film, which makes another of his occasional shifts away from the bloodbath. Steve McQueen stars handily in the title role, with Robert Preston and Ida Lupino returning to Pix in excellent, well-turned characterizations as his estranged parents. Gene Siskel liked the movie. He gave it 3 stars out of 4, calling it a decent picture from a fine director. And Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times wrote, this lively, affectionate, contemporary Western stars Steve McQueen in one of his finest performances, maybe a little too strong there, but is one of the most enjoyable pictures Peckinpah has ever made, and surely is his most appealing. What's more, it marks the return to the screen of Robert Preston and Ida Lupino, who are also at their best. So as you can see, the critics really shined a lot of their enjoyment on Preston and Lupino. Oh yeah, and we have this very, very long rodeo parade. See, that's the thing. If I was a kid in 1972, I'd be like, man, I just want to go down to the theater and, watch a movie, play some video games. I don't want to be out there in the sun getting burned and, watching people just walk down a road. I have to be that cynical about parades there. All right, now the girl in the white hat that you see in between the two guys there, that was actually Steve McQueen's girlfriend at the time. Very true. And yeah. Yeah, her character name is Charmaine. But the actress's name is actually Barbara Lee, former American actress and fashion model. Her breakthrough role came in 1972 with the film Junior Bonner, starring alongside her then boyfriend Steve McQueen. In 2002, Barbara Lee published a memoir titled The King, McQueen, and the Love Machine, which accounts her romances with Steve McQueen, Elvis Presley, and Jim Aubrey in the early 1970s. In January of 2014, Barbara Lee retired from Playboy Enterprises Incorporated after working with the company for almost 17 years. And sadly, she also developed hyperthyroidism, or Graves' disease, and has been the spokeswoman for the National Graves Disease Foundation. She's still with us. She's 75. And didn't make a lot of movies. Before Junior Bonner, she had done like the Student Nurses, the Roger Corman stuff like that. Pretty Maids All in a Row, 1971, which is a legendary film written by Gene Roddenberry of Star Trek fame and directed by Roger Vadim. And after Junior Bonner, she was in Terminal Island. The President's Plane is Missing, The Rock, and also shows like Rockford Files, Chips, The Incredible Hulk, and Mistress of the Apes was her last movie in 1979. After losing her baby, an anthropologist's wife, Susan Jameson, heads an expedition to Africa to find her missing husband. There she discovers a group of ape men who decide to adopt her as their queen. Okay, I will definitely be passing on that. I don't care how beautiful she is. Yeah. But actually in the Honkers, which we're going to get to later, in the leading lady role, or pretty much in this role that Barbara Lee has, is another actress who was making her film debut and has gone on to quite a bit of fame. And she's very active on Twitter. But we'll get to that when we get to the Honkers. See, I mean, that's the thing. Like with little scenes like this of just McQueen just talking with the other characters, they're very relaxing. They're very well shot. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is actually, I think, a good Peckinpah movie. It's just not very distinguished. There's not a whole lot here that's really all that exciting. But I mean, look, if you're a McQueen fan or a Peckinpah fan, then Junior Bonner, you have to watch it. It should be required viewing, period. I appreciate what they were trying to do. And yes, you can actually feel the director's love of the rodeo seep into the film. Just like with Cliff Robertson from J.W. Coop, which was really like a passion project for him because he also wrote and directed it as well as starred in it. Yeah, I like what Narnia Girl says in the comments section of the Junior Bonner upload. This is such a good portrayal of when someone gets stuck in their vocation, can't do any better, and hanging on, doing the same thing with no hope of getting their life together. Yep. Steve really got that undercurrent of bravely, quote, whistling in the dark. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree. But you know what? There's only so much of Prescott, Arizona I can take before I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go back to LA, Stay, cowboy. And like I said, I mean, Junior Bonner, I mean, especially compared to something like Bullet or Great Escape or the Sand Pebbles or even the Thomas Crown Affair, this is a really tough sell. It is a tough sell to, I think, an audience nowadays, especially. Here again, there was something in the rodeo water in 1972. I can't really explain that, but nowadays, I just don't think that people are that interested in rodeo movies now. I mean, 8 Seconds actually made some money for Warner Brothers and director John G. Avildsen in 1992, it actually did fairly well. I think that was largely due to Luke Perry's star status on Beverly Hills 90210 at the time. To be perfectly cynical, but sure, I believe it. And see, we're coming up here on the 57-minute mark. Yeah, we're coming up here on the 57-minute mark for Junior Bonner. Yeah. Once again, I'd like to welcome everybody who's listening and in the chat. How you doing, MLB Fan 122? Great to see you. Have you seen The Reavers with Steve McQueen? No, that is actually one of the Steve McQueen movies I have not seen. I do know it exists. I do know that. Yeah. Oh, and I've seen that poster before. Yeah, it's based on a novel by William Faulkner, directed by Mark Rydell, and also has Burgess Meredith in it. Music by John Williams. Yeah, it came out on Christmas Day in 1969. But unfortunately, I've never seen it. Never seen it. And there's also very little on it, to be perfectly honest. Although Dub Taylor is also in it. The bartender here in Bonner, Junior Bonner, is also in The Reavers, is Dr. Peabody. Although The Reavers, it was the very first movie where an actor got an Oscar, a black actor got an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor, and that was Rupert Cross. Yeah, he was the first African American to receive a nomination in this category. And John Williams was also nominated for his musical score for The Reavers. It sounds kind of interesting, though. If you've seen it, please let me know what you think. Absolutely, please let me know if you think that's one of if that's a Steve McQueen movie that should be seen. I mean, it's got to be said, but I mean, I just love the fact that his first movie was The Blob, and he was billed as Stephen McQueen. Stephen McQueen. Excuse me. But yeah, Steve McQueen, right before he made Junior Bonner, he had made Le Mans, which is a film that he, of course, being an auto racer, he actually did auto racing under another name. He wanted to make a movie about 24 hours of Le Mans, and he did it in 1971. Now, it bombed at the box office, sadly. But like I said, right after that, he got back to work with Sam Peckinpah for both Junior Bonner and The Getaway. And then, of course, he was in Papillon and Towering Inferno right after this. And Towering Inferno was the biggest hit, one of the biggest hits of 1974, and it resulted in, and it resulted him, Steve McQueen, becoming the biggest paid star in Hollywood. But he would only make 3 other films after that. Yeah. His character's name in The Blob is Steve. Oh, really? I forgot about that. Yeah. So Stephen playing Steve. Okay. I don't know why but Steve McQueen, I think he pretty much became a star after The Blob and also the television show Wanted Dead or Alive, which is one of those classic Western shows where Steve McQueen plays a bounty hunter named Josh Randall. And the series made McQueen, known for the concept of cool and entertainment, a television star. He would later cross over into comparable status on the big screen. Yep. So yeah, I guess his first big film was Magnificent Seven. That was the film that uh, pushed him all the way up to the A list. But the ones that everybody remembers are Magnificent Seven, Great Escape, Sand Pebbles, Thomas Crown Affair, and Bullet. And yeah, The Getaway too. I'm going to be doing The Getaway in December, just to let everybody know. And I've seen it once. I did like it, but I am looking forward to returning to it for its 50th anniversary. Just a friendly reminder that next Saturday night will be another double feature, but this time it's not going to be on a sport, but rather it's going to be a double feature on Superfly and Shaft's Big Score. So that'll be a double audio commentary next Saturday night on the 27th of August. So mark your calendar for that. I will be making an announcement on Twitter pretty much when I'm done with the Honkers a bit later. So how long can he stay on? I mean, I get the whole basic idea of it, but it's just not for me. I can only take so much of like some guy gallivanting around on a horse or a bull. I can only take so much of that before I get bored, basically. Uh, I might as well provide a brief history of bull riding since we're doing a double feature on it. American bull riding has been called the most dangerous 8 seconds in sports. And to receive a score, the rider must stay on top of the bull for 8 seconds with the use of one hand gripped on the bull rope tied between the bull's forelegs. The taming of bulls has ancient roots in contests dating back as far as Minoan culture. Bull riding itself has its direct roots in Mexican contests of equestrian and ranching skills, now collectively known as charreria. And charreria, charreria is a sport and discipline arising from equestrian activities and livestock traditions used in the haciendas of old Mexico. Evolving from the traditions brought from Spain, most specifically the municipality of Salamanca in the 16th century, the first kind of charreria events were ranch work competitions between haciendas. The first shows related to charreria began with the 20th century, but it was not until the Mexican Revolution that its full emergence occurred in Hidalgo and Jalisco, when the land reform charros began to congregate in cities such as Mexico City and other centers, consolidating large associations to maintain tradition and popularity. Charreria is the national sport of Mexico by excellence, and in 2016, Charreria was inscribed in the representative list of the Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity by UNESCO. Originally considered a variant of bullfighting in which riders literally rode a bull to death. I'm sorry, what? Okay, I'm not going to dwell on that, but that kind of stopped me a bit. The competition evolved into a form where the bull was simply ridden until it stopped bucking, basically. By the mid-19th century, charreria competition was popular on Texas and California cattle ranches where Anglo and Hispanic ranch hands often worked together. Scottish noblewoman Frances Erskine Inglis, the first Marquise of Calderon de la Barca, witnessed bull riding while living in Mexico in 1840 and wrote about it in her book, Life in Mexico. I really like this. Check it out. The skill of the men is surprising, but the most curious part of the exhibition was when a coachman, a strong, handsome Mexican mounted on the back of a fierce bull, which plunged and flung himself about as if possessed by a legion of demons, and forced the animal to gallop around and round the arena. The bull was first caught by the lasso and thrown on his side, struggling furiously. The man mounts while he's still on the ground. At the same moment, the lasso is withdrawn and the bull starts up, maddened by the feeling of weight of his unusual burden. The rider must dismount in the same way, the bull being first thrown down, otherwise he would be gored in a moment. It is terribly dangerous, for if the man were to lose his seat, his death is nearly certain. But these Mexicans are superb riders. A monk who is attached to the establishment seems an ardent admirer of these sports, and his presence is useful in case of a dangerous accident occurring, which is not infrequent. Yeah. Many early Texas Rangers who had to be expert horse riders and later went on to be ranchers learned and adapted Hispanic techniques and traditions to ranches in the United States. Many also enjoyed traditional Mexican celebrations, and H.L.A.L. Kinney, a rancher, promoter, and former Texas Ranger, staged what is thought to be the first Anglo-American organized bullfight in the Southwest in 1852. This event was included a Jarapu competition and was the subject of newspaper reports from as far away as the New Orleans Daily Delta. However, popular sentiment shifted away from various blood sports and both bullfighting and steer riding to their exhibitions, choosing to use castrated animals because steers were easier to handle and transport than bulls. Additionally, informal rodeos began as competitions between neighboring ranches in the American Old West. The location as the first formal rodeo is debated. Deer Trail, Colorado, claims the first rodeo was in 1869, but so does Cheyenne, Wyoming, in 1872, approximately 1 year before the bull riding cinema renaissance, as we better call it. Although steer riding contests existed in the 1920s, sport did not gain popularity until bulls were returned to the arena and replaced steers as the mount of choice. The first known rodeo to use Brahma bulls was in Columbia, Mississippi, produced in 1935 by Canadian brothers Earl and Weldon Bascom, with Jake Libbert and Waldo Ross. This rodeo was the first to feature a bull riding event and a night rodeo held outdoors under electric lights. A pivotal moment for modern bull riding and rodeo in general came with the founding of the Rodeo Cowboy Association, or the RCA, in 1936, which later became the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, which is still very much an active organization to this day. Many hundreds of rodeos are held each year. Since that time, the popularity of all specs of the rodeo has risen. In addition to the PRCA, which has the pro rodeo with bull riding and the extreme bulls events for bull riding only, there is also the Professional Bull Riders, which has staged events since 1993. The organization's championship, the PBR World Finals, took place in Las Vegas, Nevada for nearly 30 years. As of 2022, it now takes place in Fort Worth, Texas. The PBR's Major League Tour, titled the Unleash the Beast Series, since 2018 is televised on CBS Sports Network, with the primary broadcast network televising selected bonus rounds known as 15-15 bucking battles. The Major League Tour was previously known as Bud Light Cup Series from 1994 to 2002, then the Build Ford Tough Series from 2003 to 2017. From these roots, bull riding as a competitive sport has spread to a number of other nations worldwide. It's also really huge in Australia, by the way. And in fact, at the end of Junior Bonner, Steve McQueen actually buys a plane ticket to Australia. So, yeah, we're going to see more of Steve McQueen's girlfriend later on. We're going to see more of her. Yeah. We are at 1 hour and 11 minutes. 1 hour and 11 minutes for Junior Bonner. So we got about 39 minutes left to go. And I don't have much else to say. Already I've run out of things to say for Junior Bonner. uh, hmm. Yeah, Robert Preston's Steve McQueen and Ben Johnson all sitting together here at the bar, getting served by Dub Taylor. Now that's cinema for you. And look, I like Steve McQueen, but my God, he just doesn't emote much in this movie. I mean, I get it. I mean, I get the cool persona that he's supposed to be, emitting and everything, but I don't know. It's like I want just a little bit more from the guy. I actually walked into a barber shop in California where they said that for years that Steve McQueen frequented that barber shop, and there were a number of signed pictures and everything on the wall and everything. Um, it was really cool. I mean, it was totally random, by the way. I mean, I didn't expect to, end up in a town which had a barber shop, which Steve liked to frequent. But yeah, I did. And there's Joe Don Baker after being punched through the window by Steve. So yeah, this is actually the climactic sequence of Junior Bonner. It all takes place in this bar. Uh, that's, the entire family. I mean, has drinks. The kids. They have cokes. They all have beers, and they all try to basically reconcile. Like I said, stretched out to 100 minutes. I mean, this is essentially a Lifetime movie with guys. That's essentially what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Peckinpah wanted to soften up and do something that was more close to his heart rather than just, more bullets and blood. And I fully respect that. And I guess for the 5 rodeo movies this year of 1972, I guess it's a tough call between Junior Bonner and J.W. Coop as to which one is the best one. Because I'll tell you right now, even though I didn't watch the Honkers in its entirety, it's not great. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I mean, this one just it has a great cast, and they keep you invested and involved, even when the story isn't anything to write home about. It has a decent cast and decent surroundings, but not much more than that. And like I said, I mean, I just can't really rate this very high on either McQueen's or Peckinpah's filmographies. Because near the end here, you get that feeling that just they wanted to relax and make something a little bit more down to earth. You know, Steve McQueen, wanted to hang out with his girlfriend during filming. I totally get all that. I totally get it. It's just a little too laid back for its own good. And Joe Don Baker gets the punch back. Yeah, he's been waiting for a while to get back at Steve right there. He's been waiting. Absolutely. Uh, Now, according to Wikipedia, the story of Junior Bonner explores one of Sam Peckinpah's favorite themes: the end of a traditional form of honor and the arrival of modern capitalism on the Western frontier. In one memorable scene, Ace and Junior escape from the rodeo parade on Junior's horse, ending up at a deserted railway station where they drink and despair at the state of the world and their indigency. And we just saw that a few scenes ago. The film has enjoyed a resurgence of popularity in the mid-2000s because of retrospectives of Sam Peckinpah's work and the screenplay's predictions regarding capitalist development. The lyrical screenplay by Jeb Rosebrook, depicting the changing times of society and binding family ties, appealed to Sam Peckinpah's tastes. He accepted the project, concerned with being typed as a director of violent action. Junior Bonner would be his first final attempt to make a low-key, dramatic work in the vein of Noon Wine from 1966 and The Ballad of Cable Hogue in 1970. Filmed on location in Prescott, Arizona, Peckinpah used many colorful locales and residents as extras in the film. And if you want the film on DVD, it is available on DVD and Blu-ray. Kino Lorber put out a Blu-ray about 5 years ago in 2017. I do not believe it has any bonus material, though. And they're usually pretty good about putting bonus material. Oh, no, it does. Oh, I was thinking of something else. Oh, well, now I kind of wish I had gotten the Blu-ray of it. But then again, I mean, okay, apparently the Blu-ray has a lot of extras. There's a commentary with authors Paul Sedor, Garner Simmons, and David Weddle. There is a 56-minute documentary called Passion and Poetry Rodeo Time. It's as close to a making of as one is going to get when dealing with production personnel connected to Junior Bonner. While family, friends, and historians join the conversation, screenwriter Jeb Rosebrook leads the conversation. He's a wonderful guide through the production process. Included is a breakdown of the original writing process and the process of selling the idea to stars, with James Coburn, who of course was in the Honkers, and Robert Redford circling the project at various points. Sam Peckinpah's participation is tracked, working on building a better script with Rosebrook, who also received plenty of creative input from Steve McQueen. Casting highlights are explored and anecdotes from the shoot are shared, and Peckinpah's use of local color is celebrated, showing just much of Prescott, Arizona ended up in the picture. And then there's also another documentary, Passion and Poetry, Peckinpah Anecdotes, collects many of the director's top collaborators, including Chris Christopherson, L.Q. Jones, Ernest Borgnine, James Coburn, Ali McGraw, and Bo Hopkins, each sharing memories of Peckinpah in action with alcohol abuse, a common theme in the tales. There's also a 5-minute Junior Bonner trivia, 3-minute Junior Bonner Remembered, which returns to Prescott 45 years after the initial film shoot with Rosebrook and his son, historian Stewart, meeting with locals who recall the bustle of activity that remained during the summer of 1971. There's also an animated image gallery, Junior Bonner on set, Junior Bonner posters, U.S. radio spots, and a U.S. TV spot. Okay, so apparently this Kino release, this Kino Blu-ray of Junior Bonner has a hell of a lot more than just a single commentary. Now I wish I had gotten the Blu-ray because I probably would have had a lot more to talk about. But I passed on it, unfortunately. So, in other words, if you want to hear a better commentary, just get the Blu-ray. I am sure that historian commentary track on the Blu-ray is more than adequate. More than adequate. But then again, are they doing a bonus commentary on the Honkers afterward? No. Now, this actor right here, I believe his name is... Yeah, Don Red Barry is his name. He plays Homer Rutledge in this film. He was nicknamed Red after appearing as the first Red Ryder in the highly successful 1940 film Adventures of Red Ryder with Noah Barry Sr. The character was played in later films by Wild Bill Elliott and Alan Lane. Barry went on to bigger budget films following Red Ryder, but none reached his previous level of success. He played Red Doyle in the 1964 Perry Mason episode The Case of Simple Simon. And he played supporting roles in dozens of TV series, particularly Westerns, appeared 8 times on the long-running NBC series The Virginian, and appeared in 6 episodes of Michael Landon's Little House on the Prairie. During the height of his Red Ryder fame, he married B-movie actress Peggy Stewart, and in early November 1955, Susan Hayward got into a fight with another actress who caught her visiting Barry's apartment for an early morning coffee, which made the tabloids and became the source of insider jokes. Oh, I can imagine. Very, very sadly, Don Red Barry shot himself in 1980 in the head at his home shortly after police had left the residence after investigating a domestic dispute. He was estranged at the time from his third wife, Barbara, with whom he had 2 daughters. He is interred at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Los Angeles. And it's funny because his third wife in real life, Barbara, also had the same name as the actress who played Steve McQueen's girlfriend here, Barbara. Just got Steve McQueen's hat right there. Yeah, we have this long brawl in the bar. Now, apparently, Sam Peckinpah is somewhere. He's somewhere in this long bar sequence. I wish I could recognize him. I mean, he probably goes by the screen fairly quickly, but he is supposed to be somewhere in this bar sequence. I wish I knew exactly where, though. Maybe. Huh. Okay, this is a long shot, but I'll check over here. And here we have just a nice long conversation between Steve McQueen and his then girlfriend while this brawl is going on. It's just not very cinematic, it doesn't really lend itself, I think, to it's. The yellow dog that you see in the movie is the grandson to Spike the dog from the movie Old Yeller. Oh, okay. Ida Lupino hired Sam Peckinpah to work on her series Mr. Adams and Eve in 1957 after she found him living in a shack behind her property. I'm going to read that again. I have to read that again. Ida Lupino hired Sam Peckinpah to work on her series Mr. Adams and Eve in 1957 after she found Peckinpah living in a shack behind her property. He paid her back by casting her in Junior Bonner. Oh, that's wonderful. That is so wonderful. Gene Hackman was originally going to play the Joe Don Baker role, but Steve McQueen wouldn't agree to his salary demands and vetoed the casting. I don't know. This rodeo movie features cast member Ben Johnson, who was a rodeo performer before entering films. Yeah. Joe Don Baker and Sam Peckinpah reportedly did not get along while filming. Baker had this to say on Peckinpah: "I didn't care for Sam Peckinpah at all. He was one of those little guys who tries to bully big guys, and he almost got his ass whooped for trying to do it to me. Every time I was going to throttle Peckinpah, Steve McQueen would come over and calm me down like a brother would." Okay. Barbara Lee auditioned, but producers cast Tiffany Bowling instead. Steve McQueen was so impressed with Barbara Lee that they started dating. Then Bowling had to drop out when she developed pneumonia, so McQueen talked the producers into casting Barbara Lee. According to Marshall Terrell's biography of Steve McQueen, quote, the closest McQueen ever got to a bull was one called Docile Sunshine, who was fun, playful, and even kid-friendly. McQueen was not allowed to get near Evil Sunshine, who was the meanest, craziest bull on the planet. As a prank between shots, Steve McQueen thought it would be funny to release Evil Sunshine into the bull ring. People climbed over each other to get out. The bull destroyed an expensive 35 millimeter camera. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Yeah, thanks a lot, Steve. Thanks a lot. Background to the scene between McQueen and Preston at the Prescott train station. Okay. Prescott's first railroad arrived at December 31st, 1886. The depot was built by the Santa Fe, Prescott, and Phoenix Railway, also known as the Peavine, in 1907. Designed in a Mission Revival style of poured concrete with a barrel tile roof, it occupies a prominent location at the north end of Cortez Street and was the center of shipping and receiving in Yavapai County. The tracks were last in use on December 31st, 1986, on the 100th anniversary of the arrival of the railroad. The tracks were removed, and the depot, long empty, has now been restored and converted to use as professional offices. The iron bridge seen in the distance still stands. It crosses a creek once worked by gold miners in the 19th century. The belt buckle that McQueen wears throughout the movie was Ben Johnson's 1953 championship rodeo buckle. Johnson was so impressed with McQueen that he insisted he wear it in the movie. Okay. The director's cameo. Sam Peckinpah for one fleeting shot passing through the Palace Bar in the film. He appears immediately after Barbara Lee's friend asks for 3 double bourbons just before Steve McQueen asks her to dance. Okay, so we did pass that point. Too bad. I just missed it. Oh, well. All right, so we got about 11 minutes to go. We're wrapping things up here on Junior Bonner. Yeah, doesn't overstay its welcome, but I kind of wish it was a little bit shorter. Yeah. So, like I said, we're going to take a 10-minute break. As a matter of fact, pretty much when the credits start, I'm going to go ahead, start the 10-minute break, and we will be back here to do the bonus commentary for the Honkers. Yes, indeed. Like I said, I didn't plan on August being a cinema sports month, but it apparently just fell into place that way. You know, roller derby, boxing, and bull riding. All unusual sports too. Well, boxing, I'll take that back. Boxing is a lot more. I mean, there's a lot more movies that showcase boxing as opposed to roller derby and rodeo. Now, I was going to mention that my first exposure to bull riding on the big screen, in a movie, was actually Stir Crazy, which was the Columbia Pictures hit of 1980 with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, where they're basically two yo-yos that ended up getting railroaded and sent to life terms in prison for a robbery. and they escape by means of participating in the rodeo. And Gene Wilder is apparently, wouldn't you know it, a born rodeo star. Craig T. Nelson has the little control there. Gene Wilder is on this fake bull in the warden's office. I mean, and so for the rest of the movie, the rodeo is basically the plot device so that Gene and Richard can escape from prison. The funny thing is that once the rodeo subplot kicks in, the movie just kind of stops being funny and they just kind of wrap it up. I mean, we spend an entire hour in prison, and then out of nowhere, we're in a strip club. Sigourney, not Sigourney Weaver, but Jo Beth Williams is working undercover in a strip club. Yeah, I know, Sigourney Weaver. I don't know where I got that from. But no, it was Jo Beth Williams, and she was working undercover to get close to the real robbers and nab them because she believed that Gene Wilder was innocent and kind of takes a liking to him and everything, and they end up together at the end. That was basically my exposure to rodeo in terms of in anything. And it didn't grab me then, and it doesn't really grab me now. Yeah. I mean, growing up, there's just a lot more other sports that I would have been, happy to participate in, just not rodeo. Just not my thing at all. Okay, was that shot intentional? I don't know. It's like that just looks so uncomfortable. I mean, it looks so uncomfortable that I have to ask, what's the point? I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I don't see the point of all this. I mean, people like to see people riding bulls. It's amazing. Damn. And see, and that's the thing too. Like, I mean, like if you get seriously gored or seriously injured by one of these things, it's like, was it really worth it? I mean, I don't get this lifestyle or this hobby at all, or as a sport, or whatever you want to refer to it as. I mean, bull riding and this kind of rodeo sports are just not my thing. They're just not my thing. And there's only so much I can deal with in terms of footage of just bulls and people on bulls and everything. Nothing against those who participate in it or those who actually go and watch it. It's just it's not my cup of tea. It's like opera. It's not for everybody. But because 1972 was a banner year for these movies, I need to do a double feature for two rodeo movies. Will he stay on? How long is he going to stay on for? Whoa. Eight seconds? Is he going to make 8 seconds? He made it. Oh boy. I mean, I would just be terrified at that point. It's just all the bull has to do is hit you once with its legs or its horns or something, and you will be fucked up. I forgot about the clown that ran up this. And see, that's the thing. I didn't look at this as a comedy. I don't know why Roger Ebert decided to look at this as a comedy. I mean, there is one moment that I laughed out when when the mother was like, "Oh, get that damn horse out of my backyard." That's the extent of comedy in this movie. Oh, I forgot to mention him. Oh, I forgot to mention him. He was in Deliverance, of course. Yeah, that's Bill McKinney, who played the Mountain Man in Deliverance, and he was also in. Apparently, he was also in Kansas City Bomber in an uncredited role as Buddy Taylor in Kansas City Bomber. But I think I forgot to catch him. So yeah, now I have done commentaries for all three films in 1972 to feature Bill McKinney. Yeah. Yeah, in the words of Willie Nelson, I'm going back on the road again. Yes. Oh, you're gonna leave that man? See, that's the thing. I gotta scream at the screen. Like really? Like this guy would really just leave that woman just to like keep doing his thing of bull riding? Okay. If he likes it that much, he likes it that much. But he ain't gonna be able to do it forever. Okay, I've seen JW Coop. I know what could happen to you. I do like it when he says goodbye to Ida Lupino right here. I mean, see, that's the thing. This is a slice of life. It's he reunites with his family for a brief amount of time, and then he goes back on the road doing the exact same thing that he was doing before. Yeah. So yeah, if you're a fan of Junior Bonner, pick up that Blu-ray. Seriously, pick up that Blu-ray, courtesy of Kino Lorber, because that's a lot of bonus material. I mean, you get a commentary and a documentary that lasts an hour and a half with all of the surviving cast and crew members. You can't ask for anything better than that. But then again, it's on a film that's relatively obscure now. It seems I think that only Sam Peckinpah and Steve McQueen fans know about this film's existence, and probably rodeo fanatics as well. So look, it has its place in film history. There's no denying that. I just won't be returning to it. But here again, I wish I had gotten that Blu-ray because I would have had a hell of a lot more to talk about. Let's see. Anything else about Junior Bonner I haven't mentioned yet? The movie was shot by Lucien Ballard, who worked with many directors like Joseph von Sternberg, Henry Hathaway, Raoul Walsh, and he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Cinematography for The Caretakers, 1963. Was married to Merle Oberon very briefly, too. Oh. And yeah, Junior Bonner was released on June 11th, 1972 in Dallas, Texas. Uh, didn't open in Prescott, Arizona, which I'm actually a little surprised by that. But yeah, it didn't exactly break even. It was close, but it didn't break even, unfortunately. So, our thanks to the people of Prescott, Arizona, and in particular William Pierce for their cooperation in the making of this film. Now, if you like the songs that were here in Junior Bonner, brace yourself for the Honkers because there's going to be a lot more songs there as well. So let me give you the link. Stay on this. I'm going to be staying on this stream. Not going to be going to a different stream. Let me give you the YouTube link for the Honkers. Okay. Yeah, we're going to get started in approximately 10 minutes. I will be back at 5 minutes to 11, and we will start on the Honkers. See you then. Hey guys, good evening. We're going to be ready to roll here again pretty soon. Let's see. Yeah, so if you go to that YouTube logo, go ahead and go to the 9-second mark because apparently it takes about 9 seconds for the MGM logo to appear. Back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Brian Trash, hey Stone, just stopped in to say hi. How you doing, sir? I'm yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and get started on the Honkers. I think now is the right time. Let's go ahead and do this. So I'm paused on the MGM logo for the Honkers. We'll start at 3, 2, 1, and play. Now, I actually kind of waited to the last minute to watch the Honkers, but there is going to be things to talk about. This is not a very long movie, although it's 2 minutes longer than Junior Bonner, and actually it was released by United Artists, which just noticed right here, back when they were still had business ties with Transamerica. And of course, the release of Heaven's Gate kind of destroyed all that because Transamerica then got out of the movie business completely at that point. So this copy of the Honkers on 1972 is not great, but at the same time, hopefully it won't get to your eyes or your ears after 102 minutes. And it's pretty obvious from the soundtrack that there are two people making whoopee in this trailer park right here. And here in the truck with the cowboy hat on is, in fact, our old friend Slim Pickens. We all know Slim Pickens, of course, from Blazing Saddles, where he plays Harvey Korman's bad guy assistant. Has anybody got a dime? Somebody's got to go back and get a shitload of dimes. I mean, I could quote him from Blazing Saddles all day. I mean, he's brilliant in that. But as you can see, somebody is coming home. This opening sequence, actually, I found a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Although I realized that we're going to lean more heavily into comedy with this particular rodeo movie from 1972. Now, this movie was written and directed by Steve Ihnat, who unfortunately passed away 5 days before the film's theatrical release in May of 1972. And that's really the reason why I decided to choose it for this, for the bonus commentary. I mean, I could have done J.W. Coop, or I could have done one of the other rodeo movies, which, what was that? What's the one that I keep on forgetting about? Oh. When the Legends Die. Yeah. Now, I already talked about Riding Tall or Squares. That's the one with Andrew Prime. But there was also, from 1972, there was also, oh man. Now I can't find it anymore. Oh, When the Legends Die, yeah. I didn't get to talk about When the Legends Die on my last commentary. 1963 American novel by Hal Borland and a 1972 American Western film released by 20th Century Fox. And it starred Richard Whitmark and Frederick Forrest, directed by Stuart Miller from a screenplay written by Robert Dozier. It was freely adapted from the novel, updating the action from the start of the 20th century to the present, cutting out the majority of the original plot, effectively based on only one middle section of the novel. The title is taken from the saying, When the legends die, the dreams end. And when the dreams end, there is no more greatness. The film had a budget of 1.5 million, and it didn't make a penny. Didn't make a penny. You know? And it's about an Ute Indian youth, Tom Black Bull, played by Frederick Forrest, who leaves the reservation to enter the rodeo life. He is under the tutelage of Red Dillon, played by Richard Widmark, a talented man with a drinking problem. The youth deals with the struggle between two worlds and deciding what life has to offer. And that came out in October of 1972. How about, but the Honkers came out in May. And here we have Slim Pickens driving James Coburn away from his little fling that he was having in the trailer park. Now, you'll probably recognize Richard Anderson's name from The Bionic Woman and other shows of the 70s. Mitchell Ryan should be another name that should be screaming out at you. Or at least to me. These are the names that I recognize. Director of photography, Jimmy Crabe. Let's go ahead and start with him because I'm actually a huge fan of Jimmy Crabe as a cinematographer because he also shot Night Shift, my favorite comedy of all time, which was produced by the Ladd Company and distributed in 1982 by Warner Brothers. He also shot Rocky, The China Syndrome, and The Karate Kid. Yeah, he shot all those movies. And he was also nominated for an Academy Award for this movie called The Formula, which is also from the director of Rocky and Karate Kid. Very underrated little movie based on an even better book. But I am a huge fan of his work as a cinematographer. Sadly, he died in 1989 at the age of 57. Cinematographer James Crabe. This one has songs I'm a Rodeo Cowboy, composed and sung by Slim Pickens. Yeah, we open up with Slim Pickens singing, which I got to admit, it sounds better than it does. I mean, I actually like his song in the beginning. Now, this movie does have a lot more comedy and a lot more songs than Junior Bonner, of course. But yeah, here we have, another actor in the middle of his career who, is, trying to still do roles and make him box office draws. And I'm not sure what prompted James Coburn to say yes to this, but needless to say, approximately 2 years before he did this movie, The Honkers, he did a movie called, I want to make sure I get the title right, Last of the Mobile Hotshots. Now, in Last of the Mobile Hotshots, he played a quote-unquote Southern gentleman who basically wins a wife on a game show. He wins this sexy little tart played by Lynn Redgrave on this ridiculous game show. And so he goes home with her to this southern plantation, which is just about to be almost it feels like it should be condemned and demolished. It's like on its very last of its existence practically. And she ends up having to deal with James Coburn's half brother, played by the very black Robert Hooks, who actually gives the best performance of all three of them in the film. It was written by Gore Vidal, based on a Tennessee Williams play, and it was directed by Sidney Lumet. And I can tell you right now, it is Sidney Lumet's worst film of his entire career. His entire celebrated career, that's the worst movie, 1970s Last of the Mobile Hotshots. And the only reason why that film became taboo for like a month is because at the end, Robert Hooks says motherfucker. And it's the first time that the 12-letter obscenity had ever been uttered in American film before. But, that little tidbit aside, the movie is just absolutely awful. I mean, even if you are like a Tennessee Williams devotee, or even if you like any of those actors or Sidney Lumet, trust me, it is not worth it. So he was kind of at the bottom of his career at this point, because he was still, struggling to get out of Flint, Our Man Flint type of roles and everything. But a year after this, James Coburn had done The Last of Sheila, and then he did movies like Bite the Bullet, Hard Times, Sky Riders, Midway, the 1976 film. California Suite is probably his biggest role in some time, and that came out in 1978, based on the play by Neil Simon. I always remembered him as a kid, though. I always remembered him as the El Sleazo cafe owner in the Muppet movie. And he had also done the television version of Valley of the Dolls, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. He was in The Nutty Professor, the Eddie Murphy version of The Nutty Professor. And then he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Affliction. An Affliction that was written and directed by Paul Schrader. I personally have never seen it, but James Coburn he won the Oscar. He won all the awards. Now, here we're seeing way too much of his leg, I think. But way too much of his legs. There were these very awkward bedroom scenes with him in Last of the Mobile Hotshots as well. It's just very, very bizarre. Very bizarre. But yeah, I mean, he just came back into town and, just refuses to sign the divorce papers from his wife, apparently, right here. And his wife is played by Lois Nettleton, who Roger Ebert actually cited her in his review of Junior Bonner. But she received 3 Primetime Emmy Award nominations and won 2 Daytime Emmy Awards. And those were one for her role as Susan B. Anthony in the television film The American Woman, Profiles in Courage, and for A Gun for Mandy, which was an episode of the religious anthology Insight. She received an Emmy Award nomination for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series for the Golden Girls episode Isn't It Romantic? And she also received Emmy nominations for her work in the TV movie Fear on Trial, 1975, and for a recurring role on the series In the Heat of the Night in 1989 for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. A life member of the Actors Studio, Nettleton made her Broadway debut in the 1949 production of Dalton Trumbo's play The Biggest Thief in Town. She appeared in a short-lived off-Broadway production of Look, Charlie, which was written by her future husband, humorist Gene Shepard. Now, Gene Shepard is, of course, the one that narrates A Christmas Story, and it's based on his Christmas growing up in Ohio, where he wanted a Red Ryder BB gun. Yep. She also received critical praise for her performance as Blanche Dubois in a 1973 revival of A Streetcar Named Desire. Nettleton was nominated for a Tony for her performance as Amy in the 1976 revival of They Knew What They Wanted. Other stage credits include Broadway productions of Darkness at Noon, Silent Night, Lonely Night. She continued to act on stage into her 70s. Her final stage performance was in 2004 in an off-Broadway play called How to Build a Better Tulip. Yep. And she doesn't have a big filmography. She was in A Face in the Crowd, 1957. Elia Kazan directed that. She has an uncredited debut performance in that as Mr. Mason's nurse. She was also in The Bamboo Saucer, The Man in the Glass Booth, Deadly Blessing, the Wes Craven movie Deadly Blessing, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Butterfly, which is that infamous film with Pia Zadora. Mirror Mirror 2, Raven Dance, and finally Mickey's House of Violin or Villains. Mickey's House of Villains, where she contributes a voice to Maleficent. Yeah. Now, there's another actress in this movie that will be making her motion picture debut. And I think you'll be surprised to find out who it is, because she's now a very familiar actress in a lot of 80s and 90s films, and is very, very active on Twitter, as I mentioned before during the last commentary. And I didn't realize that until just a couple hours ago. She was in her early 40s here. She looks damn good. So let's talk about the writer and director of this film, who died at a very, very young age. He was only 37 when he passed. His name is Steve Ihnat, Ihnat. And he was a Slavic-born American actor and director. He immigrated to Canada when he was 5 years old and later became a U.S. citizen. Let's see. He moved to the U.S. in 1956 to pursue a career in acting and attended the Pasadena Playhouse. He gained U.S. citizenship, and in 1959 he played a truck driver in With Cargo Hijackers in an episode of Highway Patrol. At a time when he had difficulty finding work, he enlisted in the U.S. Army for 2 years and served at the headquarters of U.S. Army Port Incheon in South Korea. In 1960, Private Ihnat won second prize in the Republic of Korea Poetry Contest for his entry titled Toil in the Night. Very interesting. Ihnat guest starred in many television series during the 60s, including Mind Controlled Lieutenant in the science fiction television series The Outer Limits, in the two-part episode The Inheritors. In 1965, he guest starred as murderer Charlie Parks in the Perry Mason episode The Case of the Duplicate Case. And remember, this is the director of this film, The Honkers. He was an actor beforehand. He had over 70 guest credits, such well-known series as Star Trek, the episode Whom Gods Destroy in 1969, as the psychotic Garth of Izar, and also 2 episodes of The Fugitive entitled Cry Uncle, alongside Ron Howard. And The Walls of Night. Other credits include The Blue Light, Gunsmoke, Silent Force, Bonanza, Virginian, Mission Impossible, Samaran Strip, Mannix, The Name of the Game, Perry Mason Medical Center, and in 1971, Ihnat was in Sweet Sweet Rachel, a television movie that formed the basis for the series The Sixth Sense. Not the movie The Sixth Sense, but the series The Sixth Sense. Ihnat had several guest roles in Mission Impossible, including the brilliant Soviet Union investigator Stefan Miklos in the 1969 episode The Mind of Stefan Miklos, widely praised as one of the most cerebral and intelligent episodes of the entire series. When he played other roles in the show, his performance in this episode is his most memorable. From 64 to 68, he appeared in 8 feature films. He often played villains, using his ability to subtly turn one-dimensional characters into complex and multi-dimensional antagonists. 1968, Lamont Johnson cast him in the film Kona Coast, in which Ihnat played a murderous playboy in Hawaii, doping up teenagers and causing mayhem to the property and person of the character played by lead actor Richard Boone. Also in 1968, he memorably portrayed a murderous thug in the film Madigan, starring Richard Widmark and Henry Fonda, and a NASA administrator in the film Countdown, directed by Robert Altman and starring James Caan and Robert Duvall. His other film credits including The Chase, In Like Flint, Hour of the Gun, Zigzag, and Fuzz. And the fact that he was in Like Flint tells me that obviously he had a good relationship with Coburn. And he was also a screenwriter and director he wrote and produced and starred in Do Not Throw Cushions into the Ring, which was never released, but it led to him receiving the plum position of directing The Honkers, starring James Coburn, with whom he had appeared in Like Flint. He also co-wrote the movie with Stephen Lodge. He was married to Maria Carter, who posed as Playboy's Playmate of the Month for May 1962. Carter had a daughter from a previous marriage. Ihnat died of a heart ailment on May 27th, 1972. Like I said, this was only days within the Honkers release. Literally days. He died of a heart ailment attending the Cannes Film Festival in France. His death at age 37 came 1 month after the birth of his son, Stefan. Wow. So yeah, he played a detective in the movie Fuzz, which was a posthumous release. And that's about it. You know, died at the age of 37, and this was the only film that he co-wrote and directed, and that's why I decided to go with this film above the other bull riding films of 1972. Excuse me. Grab something to drink here. Now look at the pockets on the guy's shirt. It literally looks like there's horns sticking out of the pockets. Wow. Okay, I don't think we needed this close-up shot, Steve. Did we really need a close-up of James Coburn's crotch going down on the horse? I don't think we needed that. Nothing against James Coburn's crotch. Okay, I'm just saying we didn't need a close-up of it. Well, here I think he's riding a horse instead of a bull. Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, I was only able to see about an hour of this movie before I started the Junior Bonner commentary because, you know, honestly, I had no idea how much I was really going to say about the Honkers. And, you know, the movie is 2 minutes longer than Junior Bonner. And to be honest, I have even much less to say about this film than Junior Bonner. But I decided to soldier on through it anyway. But at any rate, if anybody's in the chat, please let me know how you're doing and what you think of the Honkers or Junior Bonner, or you know, do you have a favorite bull riding movie? This is all about the sport of rodeo. This is all about rodeo and bull riding tonight. So, you know, share whatever you have to share. I mean, see, now is the right time. Now is the time where I'm thinking, man, I could have really used somebody from the professional bull riding association sit with me on this commentary. I will confess that when I was going to do my commentary for JW Coop, I actually reached out to them via Twitter and I never got a response. So, oh well. I would have thought if anybody has heard of these movies, it would have been them. But now here we're going to have a few familiar faces in this scene. Slim Pickens is here again. Of course, we know Slim Pickens from Blazing Saddles, but we're about to see another actor who I have to shout out to right here in the green shirt. This is Mitchell Ryan. Now, you'll probably recognize Mitchell Ryan from Lethal Weapon. He actually played the head villain in Lethal Weapon. But I also know him from films like Grosse Pointe Blank with John Cusack. You'll get a better shot of him soon, but yeah, he is on screen here. and you'll probably recognize his voice too when it comes to it. But he is he's best known for playing Burke Devlin in Dark Shadows in the 1960s, and later for his co-starring role as Thomas Gibson's father on Dharma and Greg. But he also played the villainous General Peter McAllister in the 1987 buddy comedy Lethal Weapon. Now, but he was actually in quite a few big films, though. Before the Honkers, he was in a couple films like The Hunting Party. And then after this, he was in High Plains Drifter, the Clint Eastwood movie, The Friends of Eddie Coyle, Electra Glide in Blue, Magnum Force. So Clint Eastwood obviously liked working with him. Midway, 2-Minute Warning, directed by Larry Pierce, which I watched recently. Not a very good disaster movie. Death of a Centerfold, the Dorothy Stratton story, where he played Hugh Hefner, of all people. And that's funny that that does pop up, because that version stars Jamie Lee Curtis. And eventually, coming up in the next month or so, we're actually going to be doing an audio commentary for Star 80, the Ladd Company film from 1983. But Mitchell Ryan was also in Star Trek The Next Generation, Winter People, The Golden Girls, Hot Shots Part 2. I remember him from that. Speechless, Judge Dredd, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. He played Dr. Terrence Wynn in that movie. Ed, The Devil's Own, Liar, Liar. Oh, Liar, Liar. I love that. Oh, I just thought of that sequence in Liar, Liars, where he calls Mr. Allen, Mitchell Ryan's character, he's a pathetic, superficial bastard, a massive pile of cow dung, figuratively speaking. I screwed that up totally, but yeah, it's something like that. And then, of course, he was in Grosse Pointe Blank, one of my absolute favorites. And that was his last film, actually. Grosse Pointe Blank with John Cusack and Minnie Driver, where he goes home to his high school reunion, this professional hitman, because he decides to mix business and pleasure doing that. So, yeah. Now, we're about to see the other actress I had mentioned before. Here's James Coburn crossing the street right now. But we're about to see the other actress I was talking about that went on to do some pretty big films. Pretty big films. So she's probably the biggest recognizable actor in this movie. I mean, James Coburn, of course, did a lot of stuff, and and of course, he won the Oscar. But I think I like this woman that's coming up here the best of all the actors in this movie that pop up. They just you never expect. You never expect. He's like, yeah, I'm back in town. I'm back in town, just waving to people. Tip of the hat to all the ladies there. Oh yeah, isn't James Coburn so smooth? I kind of miss Steve McQueen. I don't know. I think Coburn is a little too loud in this role. Good actor, a good actor. Yeah, it's just yeah. Like I said, this just wasn't made at the height of his career. Uh, One of the lowest points of his career, actually. But you know, yeah, it's like all these middle-aged actors. They think, oh, I'll just make a bull riding movie. In 1972, I'll just make a bull riding movie. Well, okay, so there's her car right there, but she's going to be coming out of a store here in a minute. And there she is. Does anybody recognize her? Oh man, talk about bewitching. That is in fact Ann Archer. That is the actress Ann Archer. This was her very, very first movie. Her very first movie. Now, she in 19 in the 1970s, she appeared in shows like Hawaii Five-O, The Mod Squad, Ironside, and Little House on the Prairie. And she was also a regular cast member on the ABC sitcom Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice in 73. And she was named Miss Golden Globe in 1971. Now, Miss Golden Globe is essentially the Golden Globe ambassador. Uh, until 2017, it was Miss Golden Globe or Mr. Golden Globe, where they're the young person who assists in the annual presentations by handing out the trophies to the winners and escorting them off stage. I loved it when, a little side story real quick, I loved it when Mickey Rourke accepted his Golden Globe for the wrestler. And, and he thanked, I forget the actors who actually gave him the award, but I wanted to, thank you and you, and I don't know what you do, honey, but yeah, well, that's the Golden Globe ambassador, and so she was, but at the time she was known as Miss Golden Globe of 1971. But this was her first feature. This was her very first movie. And she later had supporting roles in Cancel My Reservation, 1972, All American Boy, Track Down. She auditioned for Superman and lost it to Margot Kidder. But she was also opposite Stallone in Paradise Alley. And she played opposite John Ritter in Hero at Large. However, her biggest film was yet to be seen, and that was the 1987 movie Fatal Attraction, directed by Adrian Lyne. Ann Archer was nominated for an Academy Award, the BAFTA Award, and the Golden Globe Award, naturally. So she was nominated for all three of them. Unfortunately, she did not win. She lost to Cher for Moonstruck. But Ann Archer played Beth Gallagher, the husband of Michael Douglas's character in Fatal Attraction. After that, she was in Narrow Margin with Gene Hackman, Patriot Games, where she played the wife to Harrison Ford, Jack Ryan's wife in both Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger. She was also in Body of Evidence, the Madonna movie. Oh, she did win a Golden Globe Special Ensemble Award for Shortcuts, the Robert Altman film. And she was also in William Friedkin's Rules of Engagement, starring Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson. And one of her last big films was actually Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, with Michael Douglas. Also with Michael Douglas, yeah. Well, let me just say this. Very impressive list of films. I am not a fan of Fatal Attraction. I think that Michael Douglas, his character got off way, way too easy. And I actually very much sympathized with Glenn Close's character. And I don't think that the film or the filmmakers gave her character a fair shake. That is how I feel about it. And I absolutely hate the ending to the movie. Look, on Twitter, I recently had an exchange with a buddy of mine. And, he said that, look, that was seriously the conversation, though. In 1987, that was the conversation. It was all about Fatal Attraction. Look, fine. I wasn't an adult in 1987 to have that conversation with other adults. But watching Fatal Attraction now, it's like, oh, God. We've seen this story a billion times already. It's been done to death. I agree that Ann Archer was one of the film's better elements. Because, like I said, as much as I like Michael Douglas, I couldn't stand his character. And I love Glenn Close, and I think that her character deserved a lot more. So, it's not one of my favorites. And if I was going to do an Adrian Lyne ranking, trust me when I say Fatal Attraction would not be on the top half of that ranking. Time to break out the beer. Yeah. But look, Ann Archer is very, very beautiful in this movie. I mean, and I actually think she's one of the surprising elements of it, along with Slim Pickens, who I think is always wonderful in the supporting role here. But I don't think this movie broke even. I think it only scored like half of its budget or something like that. It didn't do well. And like I said, I think it's just 1972. I think people were already just kind of gored by the amount of rodeo movies. Look, I think that's what the case was. I mean, if Sam Peckinpah and Steve McQueen can't get audiences to go see a rodeo movie, then come on. I mean, what chance does James Coburn or even Cliff Robertson has? And Cliff Robertson, that was a labor of love for him. I mean, I did like J.W. Coop, and I liked it just as much as Junior Bonner. I just have no reason to ever return to those movies, quite simply. And what I watched of the Honkers, it's not bad. It's not bad. It sort of exists in the, well, not exactly, but it doesn't exactly exist in the same universes like the Unholy Rollers, because this movie. Not to say it could have used more nudity or more like catchier elements, but it's really weird. If you look at the advertising for the Honkers, there's a huge like emphasis on women, showing off their legs and everything. And, that's why I was joking earlier with Dan, are you really down for some rodeo? We got babes too. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we got Steve McQueen's girlfriend and we got Ann Archer. I mean, what else who else could you ask for, as far as rodeo babes are concerned, you know what I'm saying? But otherwise, I mean, these films, they just kind of they leave the memory as soon as you watch them. They don't, to me at least, they personally just don't have a lot of replay value. But if you want Junior Bonner on Blu-ray, get that Kino Lorber Blu-ray, because man, that Blu-ray is packed with bonus material. It really is. Now, to do a timestamp real quick, we are coming up on 38 minutes. We are coming up on the 38-minute mark for the 1972 film The Honkers. And we got approximately about an hour and 2 minutes left to go, maybe an hour and 4 minutes. But I warn you right now, I've pretty much run out of things to say at this point. See, when I do these double features, I do realize that by the second movie, I'm kind of talked out. And it's not like Once Upon a Time in America or Right Stuff, where I'm going to have 3 or 4 hours to focus on just one specific movie. These movies are just, well, Junior Bonner, of course, I think I have much more to say, obviously, but once you see something like The Honkers, you're never going to see it again. You just know. Just like in Junior Bonner, the bar serves Cokes along with beer. Yeah, I know, stretching it as far as similarities and parallels, but it's like, I mean, what else is there to say about the Honkers, really? And Ann Archer, she's lovely in her debut. You know, I like James Coburn in other movies. I think as a former rodeo guy, I'd rather take Steve McQueen or Cliff Robertson in this type of role. Oh, time for a brawl. Time for a beer brawl. Smack somebody with a pool stick and throw somebody over the. Damn! Coburn is just kicking some ass right here. Yeah, Mitchell Ryan is like, yeah, just drink this. You'll be all right. Just drink. Okay. He's just he broke a cue stick. He just, he punched a guy in the jaw. I mean, he threw somebody over into the bar. He should have been thrown out at that point. He really should have been thrown out. And Mitchell Ryan's like, yeah, just keep drinking. Just have more beer here. Wow. Mitchell Ryan's now about to smoke a cigarette. Now, let's see. The music for the Honkers is done by Jimmy Haskell, who just passed away about 7 years ago. He was an arranger for a wide variety of popular artists, including Elvis Presley, Neil Diamond, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Steely Dan, Billy Joel, and the Everly Brothers. And the other films that he did music for, aside from the Honkers, they include Apache Uprising, 1965, Waco, 1966, Arizona Bushwhackers, Buckskin, Night of the Lepus, which, yes, we are going to do Night of the Lepus in October, where giant rabbits invade the countryside. Yeah, you don't want to miss that one. Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Death Game, which I talked about on one of my recent commentaries, Joyride, 1977. Not that Joyride, not the good Joyride. Goldie and the Boxer, Mirror, Mirror, Mirror. And his last movie was Jake Spanner, Private Eye in 1989. And he had also done like television scores for like the Hollywood Squares, Bewitched, Doris Day, Curiosity Shop, and Land of the Lost, the animated show from the 1970s. Oh, oops. Yeah, I can imagine that a night like this has happened more than a few times already, where he comes home sloppy drunk. It's so I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, baby. Can we have sex now?" Really. Now who is this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is in fact Richard Anderson. Now, most of you will probably recognize Richard Anderson from the 1970s television series The $6 Million Man, starring Lee Majors and Jamie Summers, who did The Bionic Woman. And so he was Oscar Goldman. He played the boss of both Lee Majors and Lindsay Wagner in those shows. He served during the Army during World War II, got a contract with MGM in 1950, did films like The Magnificent Yankee, The Student Prince. He was in Forbidden Planet, the classic sci-fi film, as Chief Engineer Quinn. Among his later films were the World War I drama Paths of Glory, directed by Stanley Kubrick, in which Anderson played the prosecuting attorney, played Ricardo Del Amo in the second season of Zorro. I'm a huge fan of Zorro, of the series, by the way, with Guy Williams. Richard Anderson was also the object of the unrequited love of Clara Varner, played by Joanne Woodward in the 1958 film The Long Hot Summer, and a suspicious military officer in 1964's 7 Days in May. He made 23 episodes of Perry Mason during the series' final season as Police Lieutenant Steve Drum, replacing the character of Lieutenant Tragg, played by Ray Collins. Before he became a Perry Mason regular, he made guest appearances in two episodes as Defendant Edward Lewis in the case of the accosted accountant, and Jason Foster in the case of the paper bullets. He also appeared in The Untouchables, Wagon Train, The Rifleman, Daniel Boone, Thriller, The 11th Hour, 12 O'Clock High, I Spy, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Fugitive, The Wild Wild West, Bonanza, The Green Hornet, Invaders, and The Big Valley. Yeah. Oh, interesting. His first movie was actually a 1947 Mexican-American film called The Pearl, based on the John Steinbeck book. Oh. Interesting. And he was also in Scaramouche, 1952, Betrayed, 1954. A lot of B pictures, lots and lots of B pictures. He did guest star in Wanted Dead or Alive with Steve McQueen in 1961. He was also in Seconds, the great 1966 film, Tora Tora Tora, Gunsmoke, The FBI, The Night Strangler. And his very last movie was actually, he played General George Meade in Gettysburg. But he also played himself in the Robert Altman film The Player, and also Lyndon B. Johnson in Hoover versus the Kennedys. So yeah, Richard Anderson he had done a lot more than just be the boss to the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. He did a lot more than that. And he passed away at the age of 91 on August 31st of 2017. And he had done all those Bionic television movies as well. Yeah. All right, we're coming up here on the 47-minute mark. The 47-minute mark of the Honkers. Hope everybody is having a great evening. Thank you again for joining me for this bull riding double feature. And here we have another rodeo parade. I mean, okay, that's what I'm saying, is that if you were going to pick one of the 5 movies, to me, it's a toss-up between J.W. Koo or Junior Bonner. In fact, part of me is now wishing I kind of did J.W. Coop. But then again, I mean, honestly, back in January, I did not know what the hell to say about J.W. Coop, because it was mostly just all about Cliff Robertson. At least the Honkers, at least it has a much wider variety of casts and familiar faces and everything. Huh, I like the pink cowboy hat. Welcome, rodeo! And welcome, Trankton High School. Yeah! Go Hornets! No, I don't know. I don't know if that's their team. Now, I got to check where this was filmed. I mean, I'll be surprised if it isn't Texas or Arizona. I'll really be surprised. Let's see what else we got here. The red sports car that Ann Archer drives is a Di Tommaso Pantera. The purple sports car shown in the movie poster is a Lamborghini Miura. Let's see. The film had its premiere at the Cavern Theater in Carlsbad, New Mexico, the small town in which the movie was filmed. There we go. So The Honkers was filmed in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and it actually had its premiere there. See, Honkers got it right. Honkers got the theatrical release right. I mean, why Junior Bonner couldn't have opened up in Prescott, Arizona, I don't know. In rodeo slang, a honker is a rough bull or bronc that is hard to ride and can't be broken. Writer-director Steve Ihnat didn't live to see the movie's release, as he died of a heart attack at age 37 in just 5 days. 5 days before the movie came out. Yep. Now, at IMDb, there's only 11 reviews. There is only 11 reviews for the Honkers, including one from the screenwriter. Let's do this. Okay, so screenwriter Stephen Lodge says, okay, The Honkers is probably Slim Pickens' best performance of all time. When we were shooting, everyone connected with the production figured that Slim was Academy Award material. Unfortunately, United Artists had a James Bond picture and release at the same time and did not devote much attention to the Honkers. I personally feel this film was underrated by most critics. Sam Peckinpah's Junior Bonner was out of the same time and seemed to impress the critics more than our film. Also, Cliff Robertson had a rodeo film out a few months before our release, and that might have hurt us too. The picture is worth watching, if just for the rodeo footage. Some of the best ever filmed, shot by James Coburn. I am a fan of the cinematographer. Like I said, I am a fan of the cinematographer. The director and my co-writer, Steve Ihnat, died a few weeks after the picture's release, cutting short a promising career and leaving behind his lovely wife, Sally, his daughter, Gabby, and newborn son, Stefan. Please give this movie a shot. I'm betting that you'll say it was well worthwhile. I thank anyone who has taken the time to read this, Stephen Lodge. And that was posted on September 10th of 1998. Wow. and his tag name was Honker. He posted it under the name Honker. There you go. 7 out of 10, underrated and underplayed. 9 out of 10, one of the best Westerns ever made. 7 out of 10, what the future holds. As I recall, this was a wonderful movie. Yeah, there's only like one negative review among the 11 reviews here. Huh. The one negative review here gave it a 4 out of 10. Says that, oh yeah, that's my friend John. He gave it a 4 out of 10 or a 2 out of 4. Says, James Coburn is a devilish, lady-loving rodeo circuit rider down New Mexico way. Ann Archer is a smitten fan who bats her eyes at him. Lois Nettleton plays his wife, who puts up with all his comings and goings. Yeah, pretty much. The early 70s were rife with these kind of cowboy character pieces, and all of them have the same scenes. Yes, the unloading of the horses at sunrise, the sizing up the competition, the aged cowpoke sidekick chiming in with his 2 cents. Here at Slim Pickens. The parade down Main Street in that old standby. The protagonist getting caught with another man's woman and escaping with his pants down. Co-written by Steve Ihnat, who also directed, and Stephen Lodge, the lackadaisical film probably made an inoffensive co-feature at a drive-in theater, but on its own terms, the cliched results are pretty thin. Coburn is energetic and amiable. He's always good when cast as the wily scallywag, but the movie depressingly stacks the deck against him. The Western milieu in general doesn't feel like a natural fit for Coburn, who looks like he might be more at home sitting on the Riviera plotting someone's demise. 2 stars out of 4. I love the way he writes these reviews. I mean, but yeah, hey, he didn't hate it. He didn't hate it. It just, unfortunately, once you see one of these rodeo movies, you've pretty much seen all the other ones. That's the thing. That's the thing. Oh. Oh. Damn. Yeah, I think I would go up and talk to Ann Archer rather than Steve McQueen's girlfriend. I think I would. I think I would have. Mm. All right. Let's see. Now, Richard Winters, who I also follow on Twitter, he wrote about the Honkers, gave it a 5 out of 10. Middle of the road review. Let's see. Much like Junior Bonner and J.W. Coop, which came out at the same time, this has an authentic feel with the necessary level of grittiness and good rodeo footage. But the scenes go on way too long, and the pace is way too laid back. One shot has Coburn walking down the city sidewalk for a full several minutes with nothing else happening. Yeah, you remember that shot, right? Extended shots of a downtown parade and a Broncos bucking off cowboys in the rodeo ring are all nice, but fail to propel the plot, which seems pretty thin anyways and almost makes this come off like a documentary than a feature film. Coburn is his usual engaging self, but seems genuinely uncomfortable getting on the Broncos and even a bit out of place in the role. I agree. I absolutely agree with that. Pickens is outstanding in support in what may be the best film role of his career. Usually spent, especially with his country accent, he would get subjugated to the hillbilly parts, but here he gets to show his dramatic side by playing a rodeo clown, which is what he did for many years in real life before becoming an actor. Archer, in only her second film role, is quite seductive and possibly at her most beautiful, though the many shots showing her wearing headbands start to make her resemble Pocahontas. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Filmed entirely on location in Carlsbad, New Mexico, the director Ihnat manages to take full advantage of the rustic western landscape and brilliant blue sky of the region, which is a major plus. The ending has a nice surreal quality, and the story does manage to pick up a bit during the second half, but it still could have been better trimmed and more compact. Yep, I actually absolutely agree with all of that. In fact, Richard Winters, who I just quoted, he's the one that called out the attention of the fifth rodeo movie, yes, which I got to double check on again, just for the name of it. Oh yeah, Riding Tall or Squares, written by John Saxon's wife, Mary Ann. Yeah, which is on YouTube as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Joel Canfield over at Twitter. No, all of these movies bombed. I actually really liked When the Legends Died, but that one's completely forgotten. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I mean, all these movies are actually pretty much forgotten. I mean, Junior Bonner is really the only one that seems to have gotten any attention in the past 20 years. And I think as soon as you find out about Junior Bonner, you'll find out about the other rodeo movies in general. Really? I just saw another response here that I missed. Afraid I'm going to have to step in at this juncture to point out that no discussion of rodeo cinema is complete without mention of Abbott and Costello's Ride 'em Cowboy, co-starring Johnny Mac Brown and a young and fotsy Ella Fitzgerald. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that too. uh, See, we are coming up on, we're just over the 59-minute mark. We are just over the 59-minute mark for the Honkers. So we have about 43 minutes left to go. And for me, it's going to be a very long 43 minutes. And you know what? Richard was right. He does look uncomfortable squatting down on those horses. He does look uncomfortable doing it. Oh yeah, real rodeo champion right there. What's Slim Pickens doing right now? Well, you know what? I am going to take a quick bathroom break. I will be right back. But keep watching just for Ann Archer, seriously. And Slim Pickens. What the hell? I guess the party is all at this motel right here. The Starlight Motel. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I honestly don't know what else to say about the Honkers. I mean, it is what it is. I think I pretty much covered everything that I needed to cover for it. Let's see what else I can find that would be. Huh. Yeah, like I said, we're coming up on 1 hour and 3 minutes. Oh, man. We still got a ways to go. We still got a ways to go with the Honkers, and I've already run out of things to say. Oh, well. I could end the commentary early if I really wanted to. But I'm going to soldier on. I mean, even if I have to, think of other things to say with what's going on screen, I will. But I'm afraid that the rest of the commentary is going to be mostly silent. I'm not going to stop the stream. I'm just not going to stop it. Yeah, it makes me want to watch Blazing Saddles right now. I mean, that would be a lot more doable right now. Oh, Mr. Lamar, you use your tongue prettier than a $20 whore. And Harvey Korman just calls him shit kicker. Well, actually, did I really talk about Slim Pickens that much earlier? Maybe I didn't. Yeah, he was in fact a former rodeo performer. Yeah. Let's see. He graduated from Hanford High School in California and was a member of the Future Farmers of America. He joined the rodeo billed as Slim Pickens and eventually became a well known rodeo clown. During World War II, he enlisted in the United States Army Air Forces, and reportedly, when the recruiter asked him his profession, he responded, rodeo. This was instead on a form as radio, and he spent his entire enlistment at a radio station in Midwestern United States. Ah! That's amazing. They misread rodeo for radio. After nearly 20 years of rodeo work, Pickens' wide eyes, moon face, strong physical presence, and distinctive country drawl gained him a role in the Western Rocky Mountain in 1950, starred Errol Flynn. He appeared in many more Westerns, playing both villains and comic sidekicks to actors such as Rex Allen. Made good use of Pickens' rodeo background. He did not need a stand-in for his horseback scenes, and he was able to gallop his own Appaloosa horses across the desert or drive a stagecoach pulled by a 6-horse team. And in a large number of films and TV shows, he wore his own hats and boots and rode his own horses and mules. Appeared in dozens of further films: Old Oklahoma Plains, Down Laredo Way, Tonka, One-Eyed Jacks, Marlon Brando's One-Eyed Jacks. Dr. Strangelove, of course, has one of his most famous roles. Major Dundee, directed by Sam Peckinpah, who we talked about earlier. The remake of Stagecoach, An Eye for an Eye, 1966. Never a Dull Moment, 1968. The Cowboys with John Wayne. The Getaway, so he's also going to be in The Getaway later on this year with Steve McQueen. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Ginger in the Morning, Blazing Saddles. Blazing Saddles is arguably his most famous role. Rancho Deluxe, Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, and Tom Horn. Also was McQueen. Yeah. So why is he not in Junior Bonner? He should have done Junior Bonner with Steve McQueen. In 1960, he appeared with William Bendix and Doug McClure in the NBC Western series Overland Trail, in the episode Sour Annie, with fellow guest stars Mercedes Cambridge and Andrew Prine, the star of one of the other rodeo movies we've been talking about. Pickens appeared 5 times in NBC's Outlaws Western series as character Slim. The program, starring Bart McLean, was the story of a U.S. Marshal in the Oklahoma Territory and the outlaws he pursued. In 1967, Pickens had a recurring role as the Scout California Joe Milner in the ABC Western Custer, which starred Wayne Maunder in the title role. In 1965, after Blazing Saddles, he was in another Western, playing the evil, limping bank robber in Walt Disney's The Apple Dumpling Gang. That same year, the exploitation cult classic Poor Pretty Eddie, Pickens portraying Twisted Sheriff Orville. He provided the voice of B.O.B. in the 1979 Disney spectacle The Black Hole. And his last film was the least notable, Pink Motel from 1982, starring Phyllis Diller. In 2005, Slim Pickens was posthumously inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in Colorado Springs for his work as a rodeo clown. And in 2006, he was inducted into the Pendleton Roundup and Happy Canyon Hall of Fame. And in 2020, he was inducted into the Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame in Washington State. Slim Pickens, he died on December 8th, 1983, after surgery for a brain tumor. He was survived by his wife and children. And let's see. Other films that I didn't mention. He was also in 1941, Spielberg's 1941. The Howling. He played Sam Newfield in Joe Dante's The Howling. And yeah, his last film was Pink Motel, which was a sex comedy Slim Pickens and Phyllis Diller, they own a cheap hotel and must deal with the various eccentric people who rent their rooms. The New York Times called the film an unfunny attempt at sexual comedy and compared it to the TV love anthology series Love American Style. But it was written by Jim Koof, who later wrote Stakeout and Die Hard. So I don't know. I can't really explain that. But he was also in The Swarm, which is the Irwin Allen Killer Bee disaster flick of 1978, which I actually do have a soft spot for. I don't think it's as absolutely god-awful as everybody makes it out to be. I could actually watch the 2.5 version if I really wanted to. Hell, I could probably do a commentary on The Swarm if somebody really wanted me to. 33 minutes left. So yeah, that's Slim Pickens, and and the Honkers, I don't believe is available on Blu-ray. I don't think it's been given any kind of release, no kind of physical media release whatsoever. Well, actually, like I said, for the one person that might be seriously interested, let me look on IMDb. Oh, you can get it. I mean, it's definitely a bootleg DVD, but yeah, you can get it on bootleg DVD for about $17.50 if you really want it. So if you, for those who really want it, you can pay $20 for it, get free 4-day shipping, and there's only one left. There's only one left, so grab it while you can. Anybody that wants the Honkers, there's one copy left. One copy left at eBay on a bootleg DVD. There you go. But you can also get original lobby cards and original posters as well. They actually put out lobby cards where the actresses were in their underwear. And I know that because when I did Butterflies Are Free with Goldie Hawn, I mean, for virtually 20 minutes, she's running around in her underwear. They put that on the lobby cards. They put those shots on the lobby cards. That's amazing. You can get a nice photo of James Coburn and Ann Archer as well. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, whatever, Slim Pickens and Ann Archer aside, this is not a film I will ever return to. I'd rather watch Junior Bonner again. I'd rather watch that again, but then again, I really don't want to watch it, period. But if I was going to choose any rodeo movie, it would be either Junior Bonner or J.W. Coop. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad United Artists didn't do any promotion for Slim Pickens. Considering his experience, I mean, he was perfect for this role. Let's see about. There is an actor in this movie called Richard O'Brien, but it's not that Richard O'Brien. It's not the Rocky Horror Richard O'Brien. Oh man, I'm pretty much done. I think I'm pretty much done here. I mean, screenwriter was also in the wardrobe department. That's about it. That's about it. Well, let's see. I'm just going to enjoy the rest of the movie. I apologize. I'm going to have to stop the commentary because I've run out of things to say. But give me a minute or two. I'll try to think of something else. Well, actually, you know what? Let me say this because commentaries that are coming up. See, tomorrow night, I am finally going to knock out 5 Days, One Summer, which is a mountain climbing movie with Sean Connery. I meant to do that commentary 2 weeks ago, but I had to catch up with Fred Zinnemann's filmography. I have now done so. So tomorrow night at 9 p.m., I will be doing 5 Days, One Summer, starring Sean Connery. Tuesday morning at 1 a.m., I will be doing the Brady Bunch movie. Wednesday morning at 1 a.m., I am going to be doing a Very Brady sequel. And next week, Friday at 1 a.m., I will be doing a 1985 comedy calling Doin' Time. That's D-O-I-N Time. Starring Jeff Altman from 1985, which is maybe one of the worst movies I ever do a commentary for. But I have to do it because it's a Lad Company film. And next Saturday night, I will be doing Superfly, followed by Shaft's Big Score right after that. And on Sunday night, on the 28th, I will be doing The Right Stuff. Yes, Philip Kaufman's The Right Stuff, which is approximately 190 minutes. But believe me when I say I'll have much more to say over the course of 3 minutes 3 hours than I do the course of the Honkers in an hour and an hour and 41 minutes. But and here we have Ann Archer smoking some weed. All right. Look at James Coburn's face. It's okay, dude. You could share with her. Yeah, I wonder what Ann Archer. I wonder how she felt about being in a huge movie like this for United Artists with James Coburn. Really like to know what she thinks of this role. I mean, considering everything that she's done afterward, I'd really like to know what she thinks of this. Really like to know. She's got an adorable smile. She really does. Yeah, come on, take that hit. Yeah. Time for a cruise. Yeah. That's what Holiday Styles would call a 10-minute weed break. Yep. All right. Yeah, like I said, I'm so sorry about going silent now, but seriously, I mean, this one film, I think more than any other, has kind of beat me to it because, there were other films I did commentaries for where I did say, I've run out of things to say, but then I would always think of something to talk about almost immediately afterward and continue and survive for the rest of the commentary. Here, I'm done. I am seriously done. I can't think of anything else to talk about. I mean, see, that's why I wish Ann Archer, I wish I knew what she thought about this, or what anybody else would think about working on this movie. But let me look one other thing up. I could read Roger Ebert's review, but I'm not going to do that because I've already read his review for Junior Bonner. We're coming up on 1 hour and 20 minutes. 1 hour and 20 minutes. We got approximately 24 minutes left to go. Oh, damn. Ann Archer is really enjoying the the weed in this movie. Well, you know what? I might as well. I'll be right back. I mean, why not? If the characters are smoking this much weed, I might as well smoke with them. And besides, we got 20 minutes to go. I might as well. But this will be it for me for tonight. Oh, most definitely. Yeah. Yeah, the wonderful Slim Pickens. And he's definitely the best thing about this movie. He definitely is. I mean, not only does he, of course, give the best performance, but he just has the most, the most to offer this film. Like I said, all that rodeo experience really comes in handy here. But I really like him. I really do like him. But yes, James Coburn, he's a little bit more iffy in this role. He just is a little bit more iffy. And then Ann Archer just looks great. I mean, come on. I mean, she just looks great. See, it's at this point in the rodeo where I would be like, okay, can we go home now? I mean, I probably would have said that hours ago, but yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Is James Coburn going to end up with Ann Archer? I hope so. I mean, I certainly would want to. uh, can you imagine like some women or yeah, in the audience when this movie came out? It's like, I can't believe Miss Golden Globe is smoking the weed, smoking the ganja. And this is a PG rated movie. I mean, kids went to see this movie, believe it or not. Junior Bonner was PG too, but of course that was very unusual considering it was McQueen and Peckinpah. And like I said, I'm gonna show actually very much a lot of respect to the rodeo associations and communities, and not bringing up all the allegations of like animal cruelty or whatever, because there are really none. I mean, yes, there has always been concern about the animals being ridden upon and everything, but like I said, I mean, they do. I'm sure that a lot of them do take great care in the animals, especially since the 1950s when a lot of these organizations came to agreements and everything. But look, I mean, if everybody's having a great time and they take care of the animals, then great. But I'm kind of reminded of like a movie like oh shit, what's that documentary? There was a documentary made about killer whales in SeaWorld that was made several years ago. Blackfish, I believe the name of it was. And it showcased how horribly cruel and that SeaWorld treated the animals, keeping them in virtual boxes when they weren't performing and everything. And they don't have the freedom of those out in the wild. You know, Look, this has been a tradition for centuries. I mean, with the bull riding and the horse riding, and look, you know, I don't have any issues with it. I mean, and I don't believe that a lot of these animals get hurt, but then again, a lot of the guys get hurt. I mean, that here again makes me question. Like, I'm sorry, look, but if I was like 18, 19 years old, and somebody said, "Hey, you want to try bull riding?" I'd be like, "No, no, no. I don't want my junk to get damaged. I mean, shit. I mean, I can't. I mean, that's the thing. I can't watch this as entertainment, not necessarily because of the animals, but just because of the fact that there's only so much I can take of just guys jostling around on bulls and horses. There just is. I don't, and that's why I'm saying like two movies is bad enough, but when you watch five of them, all from the same year, it could be a little bit more. It's like I never want to go to one of these things. They're not for me. They're for other people, and that's awesome. The rodeo is just not my thing. That's what I'm saying. If I had the choice between roller derby, boxing, or bull riding, it would be roller derby. I actually wouldn't mind going to a roller derby thing because boxing I just find boring as hell. The honkers, I mean, the whole bull riding aspect. I mean, there's only so much of that I find interesting or amusing. I I wouldn't want to watch a documentary on any of on the sport, you know. And that's the thing. Even Stir Crazy, and I like Stir Crazy. I think Stir Crazy is a very funny movie. But the weird thing is that when the rodeo subplot kicks in, that's when the story just basically dies at that point. I mean, sure, there are funny moments, a few funny moments after that, but mostly it's just played out its cards by that time. It's just too dusty. It's too dusty for a guy like me. It really is. You know what? Unless I'm guaranteed to be smoking weed with Anna Archer right after the right right after the championship, I'm sorry, I have no interest. And see, both of these films, I got to give interest. I mean, because neither of these films I really found boring. I mean, like I said, it was the cast that kept both of them afloat for me and kept my attention, regardless of um, any pit stops both of them would make in terms of the story moving along. Because it just, uh, they're both 100-minute movies, and they both feel like they should be 80 minutes. No question, Slim Pickens is the highlight of this. No question. So yeah, this is my tip of the hat to the rodeo movies of 1972. I think I can sum up those both of these commentaries with that declaration right there. This is my little tip of the hat to this tiny little genre that spurted in 1972. The the aged has been rodeo star still moving along in the circuit, still moving along in the game, and but he knows it's going to end eventually. It's only a matter of time. Only a matter of time when it ends. Uh, looking at the comments real quick underneath the YouTube. This is one of those films that disappeared from the movie theaters way too fast. Films dealing with rodeo stars usually attract my attention, and this one did not disappoint this viewer. James Coburn is excellent as the womanizing, hard drinking rodeo cowboy. Slim Pickens gives maybe his best screen performance as the rodeo clown, who is Coburn's best friend. Take a chance and watch this little known and underrated gem. Another person commented, James Coburn was always a favorite of mine, especially his deep Waylon Jennings type of integrity in his voice. A great man from around Allen, Nebraska. I had some molars pulled out there. Pickens killed in every movie he was in, loved him. All right. I worked on this movie when I was 16, got to drive Slim Pickens and James Coburn to the movie set. That's a comment from Chef Lammy. Being 16, I just wish I knew how great they were back then. I just thought they were regular people. Oh, oh yeah, yeah. I buy that completely. I buy that completely. Absolutely. Uh, James Coburn could have been the man with no name instead of Clint Eastwood. That's very true. Sergio Leone wanted Coburn, but he couldn't afford him. And that helped make Clint Eastwood a superstar. Holy shit. Oh, this comment arrived just 3 months ago. A restored version is coming to Blu-ray and DVD with the 1995 Roar and last year's new MGM logo, followed by UA's 2.01 logo. Davy Crockett commented, I'm a rodeo cowboy and my name is Joe Gates. Classic song, hard to find. Uh, Interesting. See, we're coming up on 1 hour and 36 minutes here. We're just about done. Just about done with the Honkers. Oh, slim pickings. Yeah. Yeah, Slim Pickens is definitely a legend. And like I said, if there's any reason why I'm glad I did the Honkers with Junior Bonner is just for Slim Pickens' performance here. I mean, he really was that good. He really was. I think the entire crowd is at attention, standing at attention. Wow. And there he goes. Oh, okay. I was wondering why the director was dwelling on the car so much. Yeah, I think these movies just needed to be trimmed a little bit. They would have been a lot better, right? Or, I mean, had they gotten like some real promotion, because I don't think either of these movies were given any kind of promotion, and hence why they remain obscure today, along with the other rodeo movies of that year. uh, Ouch. It just, man, it looks so painful. And it's like, like I said, I don't want to end up in the hospital, telling doctors and nurses to get their hands off my junk. Just like I don't want that kind of damage, and it just looks like they're about to get that damage. uh, as a kid, that's literally what I thought of the rodeo. That's what I was like. I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute. All they do is like ride a bull for like 8 seconds, and they get tossed around like crazy, and they could like land on the ground and get paralyzed and shit like that. Like, no, no, fuck no. Oh yeah, a lot of them survive. A lot of them don't get paralyzed. Yeah, I know. I'm joking, but I mean I'm being humorous. But I just still just the potential damage. It just unnerves me. As a kid, I would have never been able to do this. Steve, the director is really playing with the camera. I mean, the director did put his all into this. I mean, considering this was technically his first major film, he put his all into it. I will say that. Oh, what a vision! Is that a vision to end the movie on, or what? Yeah, I think I made the right choice with the Honkers for the double feature tonight. I think I made the right choice, even if I did run out of things to say by like the the 45-minute mark. Draw it out, play the song, draw it out, draw it out. Yep, yep, yep.
I found the piper must be paid, and I woke and found my friends were gone, and loved ones I had known no
Yeah, yeehaw, cowboy. Yeah.
morning man still echoes in
Remember, Roger Ebert called these songs dumb.
show the crowd I was her man. I drank the wine, turned away, and lost my special day.
Lost my special day. Uh, no credits? Is that it? Yep, that's it. All right. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. And like I said, my commentary for tomorrow night will be 5 days, one summer at 9 p.m. And next week will be the Brady Bunch movie, Very Brady sequel, Due in Time. And then next Saturday night will be Superfly and Shaft's Big Score. And finally, Sunday night at the end of the month on the 28th will be Philip Kaufman's The Right Stuff. You all have a great evening. Thank you so much for joining.